Dun, 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 dun. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Bum, 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 bum. What's up, party people in the house?
What up, though?
Welcome to Texas Live, one of the sexiest voices in the SFL,
Mr. Master.
Dave Axis. What's up, party people of the SFL? What's going on? What's happening? What's cracking? I was fucking up the buttons a little bit, but, that's how we start a show. I see all the party people in the chat. I see a hype train already. What's going on with that? Good to see everybody in the chat. We'll get to all you guys in a moment. I don't even know how to kick this show off after what happened here last week. But I guess apparently Jack Wall likes the F-bomb. So strap in, put your seatbelt on, because I'm sure you'll hear many more of those, probably even in bullet points. But we got a great show tonight. 3 panelists. We've got Liam Crowder is going to be here later for the Owner's Box. And then, of course, we have our special surprise guest host. And maybe it's Mike O'Neill's chair. Who knows for sure? Did you say strap in or strap on? Well, Bullet, you're the one who was just in the Bahamas on vacation. You tell me, buddy. But anyway, hey, welcome to this is my 143rd show. I don't even know what week or episode it is for this season. Maybe like 13, 14, somewhere in there. I know we missed a couple. But welcome to the show anyway. We're going to have a good time. We're going to party. We're going to have bullet points. We're going to have gunnies. Fire Watch. Freddie's here to sing. I mentioned we got Liam here. Diva of the Week's going to be a little interesting thing because I forgot to tell the panelists to do it. So we're going to make something up. We're just going to do it on the fly, kind of the way we do shit. I do want to make one announcement, but I'll do that in a couple minutes as soon as I go talk to my favorite part of the show, the party people. The party people. Did I drop an S? Did I drop an S-bomb too, Jack? I don't know. All right, let me scroll back here. Let's see who's in the house. The first person in is the man with the best first name in the SFL, David Leathers. Welcome to the program once again. Bullet Beletsky, good to see you. Tyler's in the house. Fox Highwind. Neil Rivers. Bullet Beletsky. Holdorf is here, of course. Stream Elements seems to be all over the place again. Crazy Canuck, as always. Good to see you, bro. Nacho's in the house. What's up, Nacho? Mac Dre, what's up, buddy? I haven't seen you in a few weeks. Good to see you, man. Pseudo's in the house, everybody. That's what she said. Can't have a show without that. It's like David Leathers, Bob Funk, and That's What She Said have to be in there, or I just can't do a show. I don't know what the deal is with that. The lovely, amazing, perfect pink Lisa's in the VIP room there in the house, followed by Mr. Clean Sheets himself, Doug Britton. Good to see you, bro. Who else in here? Doug Day. What's up, Doug Day? Jack Wall, I mentioned a moment ago. T to Queen, you got something in the mail. It's on the way to you. Bo Morpheus Jr.'s in the house. Good to see you, along with Josh Farnsey, Look Alive 24, TP Tac 11. Ooh, we got a packed house here. Look Alive 24. Did I say that? I did. Jacob Clear. Good to see you're awake. I don't even know what fucking time it is there, but I'm glad you're awake. Good to see you. Even though you let me down this weekend. We really needed you to be Carolina. I asked you to hook a brother up. You didn't hook a brother up, man. I don't know. Was that personal? Does that go back to our SSF days? Let's see. Who else we got here? Hey, Menor, good to see you, buddy. Hey, Menor, are you muted, bro? Let me see here. Dougie, I said already. Let me see. Crazy Bullet. Is that everybody? Achilles. Oh, Achilles, what's up, bro? How you doing? That's my LA buddy right there. And my Navy buddy. James Walters, 87, sneaking in here at the last second. It goes back to week 13 of last season. I know, dude, you wait, did you screw me this season in the Survivor pool? I don't know. You screwed me out of the playoffs. I had to get you twice, bro. Yeah, I get it. That was double payback. Anyway, welcome everybody to the show. Appreciate all the party people being here. Appreciate the hype train. It says we collected all of the level 1 emotes now. So I'm going to click the little show me button here. And I don't know what else I do. I guess that's it. Yep, I guess that's it. All right. Oh, Tyler's got it. There you go, Tyler. Attaboy. Tyler's on top of shit when I'm not. Of course, he's the one that's always muted, so there's that. All right, folks, we got another kick-ass panel. Nate Hall sneaking in. What's up, Nate? Good to see you, buddy. As always, if I forgot you, if I did not mention you in the chat, go ahead and at me. I'll throw you a shout out. In the first circle, the circle that is the closest to me, I think he was here last week, kinda, but I don't know. He's kind of overwhelmed, if you will, by a buddy of his, but let's see if this works out better than last week. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike O'Neill is in the house. Mike O'Neill, what you sitting on, bro? Fucking new chair. What happened to the old chair? Oh, you're not talking? Oh, he can hear you? You don't want the chair to hear you? Oh. I thought you were going to throw him out to the curb, bro. Yes. The chair is fucking dead. You're fucking dead. Bum, 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 bum. You are dead to me. All right. Well, Mike, I hope you're not going to be like this the whole fucking show. Otherwise, I don't know why you're here. What is he doing? Am I going to give him a "you're muted, bro"? Is that what we're waiting for? Are we doing a "you're muted, bro"? I think he's having issues. He must be having tech issues. Let's move on to guest number 2 while Mike O'Neill figures things out. Either that or he's hiding from his chair. I don't know which one. The chair isn't ancient enough. Unacceptable, says Jacob Clear. Bring back they're already chanting, bring back the chair. Oh, that's awesome. Is he saying he can't hear me? I don't know what's going on with him. You guys can hear me in the chat, right? I hope I didn't do that whole monologue for no reason. Let's move on to the middle circle. Guest number 2. I always introduce him kind of the same way on here.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money,
Johnny Pickler in the house. You love him, you hate him, you miss his press conferences, you miss his tweets. Johnny, what's going on, bro?
What's up, Dave, man? Pumped you had me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Appreciate you making it on time.
Yeah, I kind of did, but I think that Here Comes the Money thing, that's going to have to be if Jack Wall ever gets on a show or something.
That is Jack Wall's theme song, faux show now. I don't know. I think Mike O'Neill's really having problems.
Yeah, fuck him.
Yeah. We don't need no Mike. Dude, I swear to God, if the chair comes back because we have tech issues, this is going to be a whole nother shit show. Anyway, Johnny, welcome back to the show, bro. Hey, you're doing like bookend shows almost, man. You were here at the beginning of the season. Now you're here just in time for the playoffs, so welcome back.
Thanks, bro.
All right, folks. In circle number 3, in his normal spot, he needs no introduction. He is my buddy, Tyler Falk, with what is on your cap, bro? You got like this white smudge in the front of your cap. What is that?
I'm calling it wear and tear because it won't get off no matter how much I wash it. So
I wonder what people in the chat are going to call it.
Enter bullet point number 1, 2, and 3 for next week.
Yeah. You know bullets can be all over that. Anyway, Tyler, first of all, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Dave.
And number 2, congrats on Broadcaster of the Year for the SFL, bro.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, I actually think it was a little overdue. You probably should have won it already, but I'm glad that you won it. So congrats, man.
Thank you, Dave. I've said this a couple times, whether it be on the Charleston, Carolina call, whether it be in the broadcast team or on Ashley's show coming out later this week. But I'll say it here as well. I can't get awards because of what I do solely. I have so many people to thank. I especially an analyst, I can only do as good as I am able to because of who is sitting next to me, who is calling the game alongside me. So I think this goes out to them, to especially Brett Solberg, who has been with me throughout this entire season, a couple seasons past. We have really gelled and worked really well together, and with him being the inaugural winner to the Matt Wilson Broadcaster of the Year award, and now me getting the tip of the cap, if you will. Just a fantastic honor. Really, truly humbled to get the award in Matt's name. I am, again, really humbled, and it's a huge thank you to everyone who I've worked with, both analysts and stats guys, and of course Cam, Mike, and Curtis, all part of the league.
Awesome. Heather Jones, I don't know if she's talking to you, Tyler, or me, or who she's talking to, but Heather Jones 1234 just followed somebody on Twitch. I'm assuming it's me, but I don't know. But welcome to the show, first time chat. Could be somebody else. I don't know. Is everybody hearing everybody okay in the chat? And what's going on with Mike O'Neill? Do we have Mike O'Neill yet? Or is Mike O'Neill doing like a protest kind of thing because of the chair last week? Oh, there you are. What happened earlier?
It's a protest.
What happened?
Dude, you gotta. So we're at a hotel right off the highway from driving.
Okay.
So the Wi-Fi, not good.
Well, I could see you doing this and everything. Could you not hear us?
No. So for some reason, like the screen was glitching and I couldn't hit the mute button, so I just played it off like I was protesting against the chair.
Oh, that worked out good. I could have I almost muted bro your ass, but I figured you were having tech issues. So, all right.
Yeah.
No
It was just technical difficulties.
All right. Paulie jumping in the chat. Paulie, good to see you, buddy. Did anybody else jump in that I missed? All right. This is the time to win some swag. Who is this week's special surprise guest co-host? I don't remember who won the last couple weeks. I know T the Queen won. I think Fox won last week. I think Doug Britton was in there. I think Charles won one. All right. So start throwing your guesses. Let's see. Here it is. Pauly Truth, no. Ray, no. Skippy, no. Skippy is not Skippy. Who else? Doug Britton, it is not you. And if it is you, then you lose twice, I guess. Rastelli, what was that?
What?
Look at Mike O'Neill's face. Look at Mike O'Neill's. Is that the chair coming back to get you?
That is Brooke moving the chair.
That's the chair coming
I
to get
literally
you.
just looked at her and I went, because she walked in from taking our dog out and then she just drags this chair across the hotel.
That's awesome. Harish, no. Sharon, no. Jack, no. The chair. Bullet guesses the chair. Somebody said Jack. Somebody said Eddie. I have not seen a correct answer yet. I'll go.
Yes, you have, Dan.
I always go back. Well, I skipped it because I think he cheated. But let's.
Right, he did.
If I think somebody's cheating, I just skip it anyway. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in Axis Live history, in all the long show history of Axis Live, we have our very first surprise special guest co-host pulling double duty tonight, also in the owner's box interview. And yes, it is Liam Crowder from London. Liam, what's up? Welcome back to the show. How you been, bro?
Hey, good to be here, Dave. Really excited to. Last time I was on, I think it was.
He's muted.
No, he's
No,
not.
I'm not
No, he's
muted.
not.
No, we can all hear him, Mike.
Mike's too busy listening. He's listening to that chair getting dragged out and thrown off the balcony.
Yeah, he's
or
doing
like
something.
that, so-
But you were saying the last time you were here, what?
The last time I was here, I think it was like it would have been on the original run. And I enjoyed my time. I always enjoy my time when I come on and chat with people. So I'm probably going to upset some people with my shitty opinions. So
Hey, you know what,
yeah,
though? That's
looking
what's great
forward to
about this show, bro, is we don't care. We don't
Yeah.
care. Yep, you pretty much say what
it.
you
I
want
don't
on
care
here.
either, so.
It works out perfect. It works out
Amen.
perfect. Nacho, okay, Nacho, tell me how you knew so early, because we try really hard to keep this hidden. So I want to know with the truth. I want the truth. All right. Liam, welcome back to the show, bro.
Great to be here, Dave.
All right. Before we get into bullet points, I want to remind everybody SFL convention coming up end of July 28th through the 30th. Cincinnati, great little town to party in. They've been doing a lot of work there, like I mentioned last week. A lot of infrastructure work, a lot of construction going on there. So it's a nice little party town now. And so, a few hundred SFL peeps could really, tear that town up and have a good time. So if you haven't already booked your hotel, you might want to do it before all the rooms are filled up. And it's good timing for him. It's great because he's doing double duty for me, Nacho. I didn't have to go find two people. I got to find one person to do
All right,
two
now you can
jobs.
talk.
Now, I couldn't mute, so you were unmuted. I was unmuted the whole time. I've
What?
got to join on here.
Yeah, we can all hear you now, though.
What were you going to ask me?
How you doing, man?
Were you going to ask me something? I thought you were
I
whispering.
thought he was talking to me.
Yeah, can I move?
Yeah, you can move wherever you want to go.
Mike O'Neill. Mike O'Neill.
Jesus, dude,
Mike
I don't know
O'Neill.
why you moved the chair.
Mike O'Neill, we can hear you.
Because I'm still on the show.
We can hear you.
Okay, well, get on the bed. Because I've got to hop back in.
All right, here we go. All right, anyway, Mike O'Neill. I guess he can't. Dude, can he not hear us? I guess not. Why do I not see him in there?
I can't actually hear Mike.
Yeah, I can't hear him either.
Oh, then I'm only hearing him on Discord, which is good. All right. Can you, Zach, can you mute him so we can move on with the show?
Baby, you're in the picture. Get go.
How am I hearing him when he's not even in the Discord?
Just as long as he doesn't.
I'm turning the
say-
camera.
Even Britt don't say any sordid shit. I think we're probably good to go.
Dude,
but,
this is crazy. This is
OBS Ninja, maybe?
I was gonna
Oh,
say,
okay.
with all that
This is so
introduction
annoying.
and everything, the production values are really like taking a new leap, Dave. But I should have said that earlier. And not now.
You should have said that before Mike
Right.
O'Neill's messing up my show. Hey, Holdorf, can you reach out to him, bro, and tell him that he needs to mute himself and whatever so we can hear some bullet points because we're already behind schedule. And you guys know how much I hate dragging this show on longer than it has to. Hopefully nobody else can hear him right now. But Bullet, welcome back to the program. Hope you had a great vacation, bro. Give us 30 seconds on where you went on your vacation and how it was.
So I took a cruise with my wife and one couple, and we went to the Bermuda and the Bahamas, and on the way back, stopped off in Cape Canaveral. It's a pretty good trip.
That sounds
Very chill.
great. Yeah, it sounds great. How long were you gone?
10 days.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 10 days. A lot of drinking.
That is it. I bet there was a lot of drinking, and I have a feeling you might say about some of that stuff. Mike O'Neill, if you can hear me, you need to mute your OBS Ninja. All right, so Bullet, I know you missed last week, and last week was a complete shit show. You got a chance to listen to the show, I'm assuming?
I did. I listened to it in parts the day after it broadcast. I was on the boat, at the pool, on the beach, and
Awesome.
I swear to God, I was laughing my ass off. Laughing out loud, looking like a deranged psychopath, like sitting on deck, I swear.
Well, and so you pretty much look like yourself.
Pretty much.
Hey-o.
Pretty much.
All right, everybody. All right, well, let's get to it now. So because we had such a crazy show, did you have a lot of bullet points?
I did. I could have easily done 30 bullet points
Oh.
about the friggin' chair,
Don't-
but we only have. But I narrowed it down to 11.
Oh, down to 11. down
to 11.
down to tied for the most we've ever had on the show. All right, well, then I guess we better get to it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, from last week's show, here are your bullet points. Bullet point number 1.
Number 1. Okay. Listening to Mike O'Neill's chair during Dave's opening introductions had me spitting out my mango meltdown drink all over my poor wife sitting next to me poolside. Best guest panelist opening ever.
Ever. Wow,
Ever.
that is Mike O'Neill's chair. Dude, the guy's only been on 2 shows, and he's already like Hall of Fame status on the show.
Legend.
Legend. Wait for it. All right, bullet point number 2.
Number 2, during Cam's introduction as the guest host, we learned that Mike O'Neill has apparently been making the rounds as both Cam and Dave claim that Mike couldn't keep his hands off them. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, which explains Mike's rowdy chair.
Yeah, Mike's chair was a little vulgar, bro. I was a little surprised by
Little-
it. Talking about how he was,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, hard as wood and all kinds of weird, crazy stuff. All right, bullet point number 3.
Number 3, It was a pleasant surprise to see that Bo Martin Jr. was asked to read my bullet points this week in his silky smooth voice as I rested face down on a bar somewhere in the Caribbean. The goodwill and cheer lasted all of 5 seconds as Bo started it off by making fun of my rough and tumble New York voice. Sorry, Bo. We all can't have your ridiculously awesome vocal chops, but you have motivated me to try and refine my New York accent, but don't hold your breath. Know what I'm saying?
Know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying?
Know what I'm saying?
Dude, I saw Bo in the chat too, so hopefully he's listening to this. Bullet point number 4.
Number 4. Personal favorite. Watching Cam and Tyler squirm more and more with each passing off-color bullet point until they both finally had to get up and be off camera made me realize that I'm not only a raunchy mother trucker, but I really enjoy making people feel uncomfortable. Does this make me a bad and evil person? Probably. But at least I get a few laughs each week on Dave's show, and it makes it all worth it.
And honestly, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, Bullet.
Absolutely. Your show is the only thing that matters.
I keep telling Lisa that, but she doesn't believe me. Bullet point number 5.
Number 5. Bo doing game and
Oh, we lost. Now we're losing Bullet too.
I'm so hard that my wife got
Bullet, we're losing.
suspicious and asked
Hey,
me if I
Bullet, I hate to say
scored any drugs
this.
on the beach in the Bahamas.
Bullet, I hate to say this because I know it's going to be a bullet point next week, but you're going in and out.
Am I?
Yep. Now you're back.
Am I back?
Yep,
Okay.
you're back. Go ahead and start over.
All right. Okay. Bo doing game analysis all show as Mike O'Neill's chair was laugh out loud hilarious. I was laughing so hard that my wife got suspicious and asked me if I had scored any drugs on the beach in the Bahamas. I actually did, but one thing has nothing to do with the other. Bo is just a funny SOB.
That's right. Completely
Yeah.
completely unrelated, officer.
I was
That's
going to
correct.
say they're not mutually exclusive endeavors. though.
Bullet point number 6.
Number 6. Apparently, in the middle of the show, Mike O'Neill came home and got into a tussle with his chair. His chair won and came on the air and said, "Because I have 4 legs, I'm twice as fast and strong as Mike, and he has to understand who I am." I had to tell him to sit down and shut up. He later said, "I got a little distracted because Mike just tried to sit on my face because he's all bloodied up from earlier when I had to take it to him." If Bo doesn't win an Emmy for this, we all need to ride.
I agree.
Just fucking hilarious.
Bo
seriously.
Martin Jr. for an Emmy. Dude, we need to start that hashtag. Start the hashtag, folks. Bullet point number 7.
Number 7. Tyler asked Mike O'Neill's chair how old he was, and the chair said, "Why? Are you interested? I'm firm, I'm tight, and I'm hung. If you think puberty hasn't been kind to me, check my pubes. Take a gander underneath there, buddy." For the next few minutes, all we heard and saw was Dave and the entire panel laughing uncontrollably. This 3-minute stretch immediately earned a spot in the pantheon of great moments in Access Live
Okay,
history.
so I thought he said hard, not hung. Like hard like wood, but either way, Bo Martin Jr., folks. Bo Martin Jr., ladies and gentlemen, Bo Martin Jr. You see how like I'm deflecting and putting all the blame on him? You like that?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I was, in my defense, I was half in the bag that whole friggin' trip, so I might have misheard.
So it was probably even
Sorry.
funnier to you than it was to us. Bullet point number
Oh,
8.
Seriously, my wife thought I was a raging psychopath. I was laughing so friggin' hard. All right, what number is this?
8.
In true diva fashion, Dave fired Gunny in the middle of Gunny's fire watch after Gunny failed to mention him as a potential Hall of Famer for the Mavericks. Be better, Dave.
Hey, you know what? I don't even know if he's here tonight. I don't even know if he's come back. He hasn't called me. He hasn't groveled for his job back or anything. So I don't know what's going to happen later tonight. We'll find out. Bullet point number 9. But what were you
Truly
saying?
living up to that name of being a maverick, you know.
That's right.
Like,
The Maverick, Axis, the whole 9 yards. Bullet point number 9. It was a long one.
Okay. Mike O'Neill finally made an appearance late in the show to defend himself and told the chair, "I'm going to put your ass out by the dumpster, and I'm going to Ashley Home Furniture after the show." But his chair still continued to lay the wood to him, so to speak, when he said, "You're doing the show from your car because I put you out, and you only do what I let you do." Sounds like Mike and his chair need to have a sit down after the show.
We do.
Seriously.
Maybe next
Yeah.
week. Next week we should bring on like Maury Povich or Oprah or somebody. What do you think?
Sounds like a good idea.
I think that's a good plan. All right, 2 more to go, folks. Bullet point number 10.
Number 10. When explaining why he inadvertently reversed the seeding scenarios for Minnesota and Sioux Falls, Mike O'Neill's chair said, "I'm made of wood, bro. Give me a break."
Made of wood. So let me get this straight. So he's a talking chair, but when he makes a mistake, he blames it on the fact that he's just a chair. I've been in
All
relationships
the angles
like
covered. That
yeah,
that's
Seems a
a
little
clever
narcissistic.
it is. I feel like I've been in relationships like that before.
No thumbs. That's what it is.
That's exactly what it is. Josh Farnsey in the chat, Mike Chair getting his own show for season 21. All right, number 11, the last bullet point of the night.
Okay, Tyler could not remain unscathed, so here we go. Tyler, of course, found a way to mute himself late in the show, to which Dave said, "That was the best thing you said all night, Tyler."
I did say that. I'm guilty as charged. I did. But you know what? Kudos, because it took him a whole show to get muted. So maybe tonight is the night. Maybe tonight is the night, Bullet, where Tyler actually doesn't mute himself.
Got that white stain on his cap, so it completely negates the non-muting.
I'm not even gonna go there with that. The way this show's been going the last few weeks.
That was from when the chair came on the air. That's where that's come from.
So there's that. Bullet, I think we just gave you a whole bunch more. I mean, dude, we still got like an hour and a half of this show, so hopefully we don't go to a dozen next week, but we'll see what happens. Thanks for being here, bro. We'll see you next week, man.
You got it, Dave. Glad to be back, man.
Thanks, man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, bullet points by Charlie Boletsky. They seem to be getting longer and longer because this show becomes more of a shit show every week, it seems like. Let's get into football. You guys want to talk some SFL football, maybe? Maybe we should do that, too. I don't know. What the hell? We're here. We might as well do it. Last night, Fort Worth, Mexico City. If Mexico City wins, they go to the playoffs. If Mexico City loses, they miss the playoffs for the first time in, I think I heard, like 14 season. If Fort Worth wins, they knock out Mexico City and Alamo City got in. And that's exactly what happened. Mike O'Neill, let me start with you. We'll go around the table. Just give me a kind of a quick synopsis, each of you, of what you saw. What do you think it meant? You know, how you think they're going to do in the playoffs, whatever you want to talk about from this game. But I was somewhere else last night. I kept getting score updates. And when I saw Mexico City with the lead late, I thought, oh, this could be it. You know, they could win it. And the next thing I know, Fort Worth scored like 3 more times, Mike, or something in the last 2 minutes of the game. It seemed like it was kind of a crazy game.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts, man. I think for last night, I mean, for one, it kept everybody on the edge of their seats. But for me, I mean, Fort Worth showed up when it mattered. And the crazy thing is Mexico City played a good game. They played a great game. Jordan Sipe was really, really good besides a few picks. But they played their game plan. And that's what impressed me more about the win from Fort Worth is Mexico City did the best version of themselves on offense, and Fort Worth still, you know, just took away their chances and really sealed the deal at the end.
Interesting. Yeah. Again, like I didn't get to see it, but I kept seeing the score updates. And Johnny, I don't know if you got to see the game or see the highlights or what have you, but what do you think it means to the Mexico City franchise the first year without Matt Wilson to miss the playoffs for the first time in 14 years?
I think it, you know, truly puts a cap on, you know, what was an end of an era for Mexico City. But I think they should all be proud of themselves still and confident. And I know the guys in that locker room are, and that they have the utmost confidence in Ramos going forward. I think a lot of us would have honestly predicted them to maybe not even be in a position where they were a few possessions away from being in the playoffs, you know, with the loss of Matt Wilson and Mike Daggs on the offense. You know, thought that there'd be some rebuilding there, and especially in a division with such stiff competition, you know. So
yeah,
the fact that they were, you know, in it all the way to the end and came up a little bit short, I mean, they should still give themselves a pat on the back. But I do think it, you know, puts kind of a stamp on you know, the old era of Mexico City, and they're just going to have to make a new name for themselves.
Yep, agreed. Tyler, I'm assuming you got the chance to watch the game last night. Maybe give us a little more in-depth on the ebbs and flows, the swings and stuff, what have you, on this game last night for those of us who didn't get to see it.
Yeah, so Mike was really spot on with Mexico City playing to their game plan. They dominated time of possession. They controlled the game for the most part. And when it really mattered, that game plan backfired on them. I'll tell you why. I spoke of it a little bit on post last night, but Mexico City's defense stops the run. They haven't been the best this season at stopping the pass. That's why we saw Hacker get 3 touchdowns. That's why we saw Cade Stevens get some redemption in Estadio Matt Wilson. And once he was a Vancouver Legionite and when he was questionably called out of bounds, he gets his both feet in bound. He turns upfield, gets the game-winning touchdown for the Toros to put Mexico City out in season 20. Just a very, very well-coached game on both sides. Mexico City knew what they could do with a young quarterback taking over for Wilson, and Fort Worth knew what to exploit, and that's exactly what they did. The Toros get the job done. They win the South.
Yeah.
And Mexico City, the only team south of the border, is left for the first time since season 6 on the outside looking in.
Yeah, that's rough. Liam, you're coming off back-to-back division crowns, if I'm not mistaken, right? What does it mean to Fort Worth? So Fort Worth has really struggled a couple of the seasons since that South Division started, right? Lone Star, Mexico City, kind of ruled the roost, if you will, for lack of a better term. But every year we thought, oh, this is Fort Worth's season. This is Fort Worth's season, and they kept coming up short. This season they didn't. What was the difference for them this season to finally win that South Division crown?
I do think that sort of transition with Mexico City is sort of a factor. I do think though that I think you just have to persist in a sense. I know for the longest time with when Chad came in London and we were sort of working in terms of getting the pieces in place, and there was this gradual, like, every season we're getting better, and it always has felt like that with us. I mean, I know we sort of dropped a few games in London this season, but it's just when you get over that hump, that's always the most difficult thing to do, is to get through the wall in the first place. And once you've done that, that's really what you can build on the successors. Obviously, the big thing for Fort Worth now is, with all the transition and everything that we're going to sort of see over the next few seasons, if they can maintain that, because now is going to be more difficult than it ever will be. I think for me, as well, in terms of Mexico City, I think that it's worth remembering that, Matt Wilson is the bronze bomber, and they have never necessarily been reliant on having an exceptional QB play. They've always, they have Ray in, who's been like a fullback. They have tremendous running play. And I suppose it's a little bit surprising that one of the things about that game, looking at the sort of score at halftime, because I watched the highlights, I didn't watch the full game, but you're talking about a 10-10 game sort of around halftime,
yeah,
and then it completely blows up in the second half. Those are always really sort of terrifying experiences as a head coach, especially in APF, because it can just spin on it looked like a game where the last team to get the ball would be the winner, and that sort of showed itself up in the end, with Fort Worth sort of getting a nose ahead and then preventing them from being able to put any more points on the board. But yeah, I think Fort Worth are a bit of a dark horse for me. I know we're probably going to talk about playoff implications and stuff like that, just in totality. But Fort Worth, they are a sort of dark horse, I think. I think getting the first round bye was really key. I think getting the first round bye, especially with Baltimore being in the position they are this season. People probably are looking at Atlanta in sort of a similar sense as we were last season. I mean, I know we got into the semi-finals, but it's people saying, well, can they actually deliver when it actually gets to that point of them coming in? And I think it would be interesting to see. I think it's one of the most interesting playoff races we've had in some time.
I agree with that. It was crazy down to the wire. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys tuned in for that playoff scenario show, but I think it went like over 2 hours. It was pure insanity. So first of all, congrats to Fort Worth for their first South Division title. Before we move on to the first half of these other games, two quick things. Somebody in the chat, Liam, wanted to know, is that a California flag behind you on the wall? Which I know it is, but what's that all about? What do you got the California?
It's the new California Republic. It's a full-out flag.
So wait, did you go to California to get it?
Two-headed bears.
What's
No, I didn't get it. I didn't get it over from. I got a
Oh,
bunch of different flags on the. I've also got my You look over there.
Oh yeah, there
my
you go.
London,
Okay.
my London one as well. So, yeah, like just a bunch of. I like having that stuff up, but yeah, I'm a big Fallout fan, so I've got the NCR flag up.
Gotcha. Hey, Nacho, thanks for the correction. I didn't realize that. For some reason I thought we had two and you guys only got your first, but well, congratulations anyway, man. I mean, I guess it's not as great as your first one. That's what I heard anyway. Your first is always the sweetest. That's what they say. Moving on to the first half of the games from this weekend. They're just randomly, I cut them in half off the website, exactly like I did last week. We'll go around, Nacho. We'll go around the horn a couple times too. Mike O'Neill, I'll start with you once again. As you look at this first group of games, talk about something that jumps out at you as far as playoff implications, a team you thought for sure was going to win, didn't win, something along those lines.
Well, I don't know if there was necessarily that situation. I do have to bring up the fact that Tyler made this crazy face when I picked Portland this past week to beat Vancouver, and he said, "What? Portland's going to run Zeke Love against Vancouver because they've got the best run defense, yada, yada, yada." And, well, he may have been right at the time, but Portland came out. I mean, they swept the division. You can't give them enough credit.
That's crazy.
They came out,
That's crazy that they swept the division.
It's wild, man. And like I said, I think it's going to be even better moving forward for them, especially moving into a new era with a new game and everything. Look out for Portland next season. I think they played great, nothing to be ashamed of. But I picked Charleston, and Carolina came out and delivered in respectable fashion against Charleston. And I think that was another big thing. I think Charleston, I had originally picked them. You see what they did against Arizona, and I was like, maybe they're turning the corner late in the season here. Yep. But Carolina, they won in good fashion, and they looked like a playoff team in that game against Charleston. So I'll give Tyler that one.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest surprises, and Johnny, maybe you could start with this and then talk about what games you want to. But Portland, not only sweeping the division, it means sweeping Vancouver twice. They played Vancouver twice and beat them twice. Who saw that coming this season?
Yeah, I don't think anyone saw that coming. And yeah, if you were to take a bet on that, that'd be like a plus 2,000 to 1 shot or something
right?
like that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
what jumps out at you on this?
I mean,
first
honestly,
half of these games?
I was gonna touch on Portland, but I'll touch on something. I mean, they really just big wins. I mean, but again, Vancouver. I think seeding always matters, and they're always coming to play for play. But I mean, they already had their spot locked up. I don't know. I think you're going to get a different Legion, coming out in the wild card round than you do in a meaningless Week 14 game. So I mean, I will leave that sentiment there. The fact is, though, that Portland did beat them twice. On this slate that I'm looking at, I mean, just since we're talking about teams, just kind of that didn't make it, that are on that upswing. I think we all we're a little bit proud of Seattle's 4-8 record this year. I just, even though they're 4-8, I mean, a lot of improvements, on the field, close games, big battles, and kind of looking like a real brand, like a team that's like, okay, this isn't a gimme this week. You know what I mean? This team is going to play to win, and you can't overlook them now. They're kind of reaching that status.
Are you surprised that they beat LA though, after LA just really stomped Indianapolis the week before?
I don't know. This league's weird. I wasn't surprised. I think I had Seattle in my who you got. With the home field and just with the inconsistency out of the Lycans all season. They've had their share of struggles, and that's an understatement. And besides that on the slate, I mean, Atlanta's doing what they're doing, and I loved watching Louisiana win, but it not matter anyway. That makes 3 seasons since that they've missed playoffs without me. So.
Oh, how many seasons? How many seasons have you been gone?
4.
So you're saying Louisiana's only made it 1 of the last 4 seasons since you left?
Correct.
Really?
Do you know how many times I made the playoffs since I left Louisiana?
I'm guessing you're going to say 4.
Yeah, all 4 times, baby. All 4 times.
All right. Well, speaking of Louisiana, Tyler, it's a crappy position to be in where you're told you have to win to have a chance in playoffs, and you do what you need to do, and then you sit through 2 hours of a 16 scenario show and find out you don't even have one avenue to the playoffs. Talk to us about how the team was. I understand that you're a free agent now, and we'll talk about some free agents here later, but how did the team take that? What was the locker room mood like, and then let me know what jumps out at you from these 6 games.
Yeah, we did our job here in week 14, and my goal, even before I left for after the end of the season, which we'll talk more about later, due to some current events, but with my goal and the rest of the team's goal was to win a championship this season. Our goal was to make the playoffs and have a good shot of getting to the chip, which has been our goal since Louisiana has started. Austin and Gerald have done a great job of trying to manufacture wins, getting good coaches that will help them do that, and keep good people around. And my main goal before I left was to try and help them do that. I was fully committed to Louisiana up until the free agent window opened for me, and I took it. But the mood in the locker room was a lot more understandable before I left. It was, we did our job. It was shocking, as it always is. It's shocking for 3 teams this season instead of 1 in Tulsa, which is insane. 3 teams, San Diego included, Louisiana included, and Houston included. All 7-5 teams just because of how tight everything is. And we'll talk about the playoff picture in a little bit, and we'll go into the more. Anywho, the wins just weren't there for Louisiana this season. We couldn't beat the teams that were 500 or better in most scenarios. We beat teams who we should have beaten. That was a good majority of them, but we came up against a very tough Central Division, which hats off to every single one of those guys in Minnesota, Tulsa, Indy, Sioux Falls.
Probably best position or best division this season, I think.
Absolutely. 500 better, all 4 teams. Yeah. You cannot underestimate any team in that division. What a showing! What a good spot for the league to be in. But just couldn't do it. However, there is a positive note here, Dave. Here with Louisiana. We get to officially welcome Jacksonville to the 2-10 club. We get
I knew you were waiting for that. You almost got 2 of them. Right?
Almost.
Motor City? Yeah.
Motor City completes a little bit of a redemption arc, and Queen City wins the Super Tank Bowl.
There you go. Exactly. Liam, there's 2 of the games on here as far as playoffs go, you would say quote unquote meaningless, right? The Motor City, Queen City, and then the LA Seattle game. But those games aren't meaningless to the players playing them, and I still feel like teams have something to play for, right? Motor City had to play to not be 2-10. Queen City was playing for their first W. LA was trying to finish the season strong, because they had just beaten Indianapolis. Seattle going for their 4th win. Something to play for. Is that enough if your team's not in a playoff spot to keep your team motivated? And then tell me what jumps out on the page for you.
I mean, I don't hold back on my opinion about Motor City. I mean, I would argue that Drew is playing for his job personally, but I'll I just think it's good to experiment, and it's good to try and get better and better. And one of the things that I've found during my time coaching, because I've been coaching on and off and doing different bits of things, and putting the work in, and I'm sure a lot of people are putting the work in to get into get grips with the new game and stuff like that. Like, it's good to do that, but you have to at some point go for the wins. And I think that you're going backwards. Both looking at the other team I was going to mention was Jacksonville.
Yeah.
They dropped back to a 2-10 record from 3-9. And I mean, I spent about 7 or 8 seasons before I actually got into the playoffs. And I know it's difficult, and sometimes you have these close calls. But when you're seeing that regression backwards from what is arguably not a good place already, that is even more of a sting, I would say, and probably is something that whoever is sort of responsible should be sort of like considering what their next sort of steps are. I think in terms of that, when you mentioned Seattle, I mean, I'm really impressed by them over the course of the season. I mean, then it's not like, you know, they're not a playoff team yet. And, you know, they're some way off. And with the transition, again, it's going to be another thing of seeing, can they maintain the sort of structure that they have? But, you know, they have really impressed over the course of the season. Some of their statistics compared to last season, like last season was abominable. But as a new expansion team, that's what you would expect rather than like a Minnesota type situation where they have come in flying. Minnesota, I think, are exceptions to the rule rather than necessarily what we're seeing. The other situation as well, like Louisiana, I think it's just a similar situation to Mexico City. Basically, you know, 7 and 5 teams missed out in the playoffs is a gut punch, and that's why it's so important when you're in those very tight situations with very difficult divisions. You know, if London could have been in arguably 6 and 6 maybe as a division leader, just because of the lack of strength elsewhere in the division for us. But you know, for the other divisions, like you're looking at the South, all of those teams above 500, all of them should be in there really, and it's just odd one out basically.
Yeah, it was definitely a for me. It was a season of underperforming teams and surprise teams. I think, like, for example, I don't think anybody saw Portland sweeping division, sweeping Vancouver, like we said. I don't know how many people saw Atlanta only losing 1 or 2 games, whatever they ended up doing. Certainly not seeing Jacksonville continue to slide backwards. And that's just on this first slide. We're going to get to the other half of the games here in a minute. But first, I got to bring in my main man, Gunny. And let's check out Gunny's Fire Watch this week. Gunny, how you doing, bud?
I'm good, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. You recovered from that crazy show last week, or what?
Man, that was a heartache on Saturday or Sunday and Monday nights.
Yeah, it was.
Both went down the wire.
Yeah, crazy game. But congrats to you and Bo and Greg and Albert and everybody over there, ACA, making the playoffs. So congrats to that. And then what do you got for us tonight?
Well, we're hoping for a good showing in, as Tyler always says, Minnesota.
Oh, that's right. You got to travel to Minnesota. That's going to be a good one. That's going to be a really good game. So what do we got for tonight for Gunny's Firewatch?
We got a couple things and then just a few little notes.
All right. I've got the music cued. You're ready to rock and roll.
All right. Gunny started in season 14, and they made the playoffs at the Chicago Wildcats. At that time, we had 17 players. This is the roster at the time of the playoffs. Quarterback, E.T. King. Running back, Ashley Odom. Fullback, Mike Improta. Tight end, Shan Varner. Wide receiver, Liam Hammer. Wide receiver, Davius Reed. Wide receiver, J.C. Torres. Linebacker, Buddy Blaze. Linebacker, Clint Hendershot. Defensive tackle, Gerald Giudice. Kicker, Anthony Cece. Free safety, Maurice Spurgeon. Cornerback, Ron Hoff. Strong safety, Ryan Yosef. Cornerback, Jesse Vick. And cornerback, Mickey McGuire. And defensive tackle, Raymond Jones III. Out of those 17 players on the roster, 7 of those still remain in the SFL. Shane Varner, Carolina. Liam Hammer, Louisiana. Davius Reed, Charleston. Gerald Giudice, Vancouver. Ron Hoff, Denver. Ryan Yosef, Los Angeles. And myself at Alamo City. Just like Tyler was saying about how everyone did in their divisions through this year, actually the Central Division and the South Division were tops in the league. Both had records of 29 and 19. The next group would be the West. They were 27 and 21. The next group both had 25 and 23. That was the East and the Atlantic. Next after that is Pacific, 19 and 29. And the last team was led by London, and they were 15 wins, 33 losses. Just a few notes. Thank you to Cam for the 7-5 scenario show. Congratulations to Atlanta Swarm, 11-1 record and number 1 seed going into the playoffs. Congratulations to the Jacksonville Kings for making the all-inclusive Tyler Falk 2-10 team of honors. Congratulations to Jack Wall for his survival pool winnings. Thank you to all the broadcasters, to all our SFL broadcasters and stats crews. Salutes to all you guys. And good luck and best wishes to everyone playing this weekend. Dave, that is all.
Awesome, Gunny. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that, everybody. Gunny's Fire Watch, week to week, letting us know who's on fire and who to watch. Gunny, dude, in the chat, I didn't even put this together. I don't know why I didn't put this together, but back to brag in the chat when I was talking about Portland sweeping in Vancouver. He's like, yeah, who saw a team sweep their division and not make the playoffs? Ouch. Yeah, thanks for that. Hey, and hey, Harish is here. Hey, Harish, I haven't seen you in like, I don't know, 20 shows, man. Where you been? How you doing? Hey, congrats on the
too busy celebrating.
Yeah, congrats on the playoffs, even though that meant we didn't make it.
Dave, the real question is of those the season 14 Chicago Wildcats, those 17 names that Gunny answered, is how many of those names were controlled by the same person?
Why did I know you were going to go there? Why did I know you were going to go there? All right, so Harish says, Dave, I've been here for the last 30 minutes, bro. I know, bro, but you know,
that is cold.
Harish, if you're not there, when I do the shout outs, bro, I don't know what to tell you, man. All right, thank you, Gunny, for that, and thank you, Johnny, for that. Moving on to the second half of games. We talked about the first 6, Mike. We already talked about Monday Night Football, so there's your first 7. These are the back 7. A couple surprises here for me personally, right? Baltimore, first of all, as I think they got the 4 seed and losing as many games they did this season, a little bit of a surprise. DC losing to San Diego in Week 13, and then turning around and beating Baltimore. But that Sioux Falls, Minnesota beatdown is what jumps off the page to me. As you look at all of this, what else jumps off the page to you?
I mean, you just took everything I was going to say. So
all right,
thanks.
Johnny.
I appreciate that. No, man. Listen, that DC game, it just goes to show, and I think you were saying this, I think earlier in the pregame or in the pre-show, but like, it's just crazy. I mean, DC, not in the playoffs, but like taking Baltimore into overtime and the way that DC played, I mean, Shabazz was amazing in that game. Kevin Say was amazing in that game, and to take Baltimore into overtime and win it into overtime, like it just shows how thin that line is in between a losing team and a winning team. It's unbelievable. And then you talk about Minnesota. Minnesota couldn't get anything going. Sioux Falls came out and they handled business like they were supposed to. And I think that it kind of going into the playoffs, I think whenever you're looking at these upcoming matchups, like where is it? Well, I mean, they've got a bye going into first round, but, you know, these teams going into the playoffs looking at Minnesota at one point before the Sioux Falls games, they were looking at Minnesota saying, that's going to be a really, really tough team. How are we going to get this win? If we have to face them, we have to be prepared for them. And now, suddenly, it doesn't seem like they have too much sting to their bite because you see Sioux Falls come out and take care of business like that. So it's just crazy on a weekly basis how we see just – and another one, Denver and San Diego. I mean, it's unbelievable, man. The line between competition between a winning team and a losing team is so thin that it's so hard to get, to predict these matchups.
Yeah.
And we do the best we can, but I mean, hell, season 20 was drunk, man.
It was drunk. There's a bullet point for you. You know, so what I was mentioning in the pre-show, for those of you who are not in there, obviously, I was talking about San Diego's season in particular, and Johnny, I'll segue this to you in a minute. San Diego is 3 possessions away from being a 10-win team and potentially having a bye, right? So they lost by 1 possession to Canton, 1 possession to Vegas, 1 possession to Denver. The line between being a 10-win team and Johnny sitting on the outside watching everybody else play the playoffs is that thin now. The parity seems to be getting more and more each season. Am I seeing it the right way? Do you see it that way, or is there some other factors at play here? And then tell me what jumps off the page for you as well.
No, yeah, you're spot on. The parity is great in this league, and I think I attribute it to really a growth in the front offices and coaching staffs around the league. I mean, if you look at this league, kind of when it really boomed, you know, when they want to say like whatever it was, the TV era, you know, kind of when we all jumped in season 14,
13, 14,
and
15,
yeah. I mean, that was kind of the beginning of the next generation. I really felt, you know, over here, and I think really, it's just as team staff rooms have grown, it's different than, you know, one man or two man shows, you know, running a complete franchise, you know, and it's forced all these organizations to continue to step up their game and to go hunt for more talent, you know, in the coaches room, in the scouting departments. I mean, I don't think back in, you know, I think, you know, Eddie and all these guys, all the old guard, quote unquote, Liam would be here to attest to it. So when you can pass it to him, you know, when it comes around and he can talk about it. But I think back in like season 8, season 9, you're not seeing scouts on teams. You're not seeing offensive and defensive coordinators. You're not seeing a president, a GM, and an assistant GM and a director of player operations. You know, so I think that, you know, having these big staff rooms and all these guys who are really dedicated to the hobby, really dedicated to this league, to seeing it grow and to fucking winning games and to being competitive, and those guys who are in those positions, regardless of what team you're on, you know, they're not here for the fun of it. Like, they want to win games. I mean, they're here to have fun, but, you know, they embrace those roles, you know, for the sake of competition, and they're going to put their best foot forward every day. So I think that that's where you see, you know, this parity. And yeah, I mean, we could be, we're a couple possessions away from being a 10-2 team.
Yeah.
We're a couple possessions away from being a 6-6 team. You know,
it's crazy.
You know?
Crazy.
But yeah, so I'll move on to this, you know, and yeah, sorry you're a couple possessions away. I do have the saying though that, you know, it's the good teams that know how to win the close games, and you know, you came up short in some close ones, you know, this year, and you set one of those 7-5 teams. I mean, a Denver game at home, that's one I had my focus on.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, that's a must win. That's one of those games, if you lose that, you almost feel like you don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
Dude, Charles told me the same thing. He said the way that we played today and lost and kind of whatever, that, you know, we don't deserve to be in the playoffs. Of course, I said, well, then you're saying every 7-5 team doesn't deserve to be in the playoffs because we're all in the same spot. And there was, Tyler, how many of them? Half the league was 7-5? 11 teams?
A good number
something
of them,
like that?
close to 11,
Sorry,
yeah.
Johnny. So I get you. Charles had the same sentiment.
It's more. Yeah, I have that sentiment with more just how you end the season. It's like, it's one thing if you took a bad loss in the first few weeks, but now you're in playoff mode. Now you're supposed to be tuned up by now. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to own this opportunity to win a game that you're predicted to win at home and get the job done. And you guys failed to do so in that game, but that was an entertaining game. I loved watching it. Another entertaining game that everybody was watching was Tulsa versus Indianapolis.
Yep.
And I thought that was a fantastic game. So many storylines, so many people who weren't even, you know, who their destiny wasn't even in their own hands anymore. We're watching that game, you know, rooting for one side to win, you know, to push them back up into the playoffs. And I think that there was an average in attendance of like 100 to 120 people in that game because of the stakes of that game. Great game. You saw every type of play in it, and, you know, congrats to you know, Chad and Adam and everybody over there and getting the job done and getting themselves in.
So everybody's saying, oh, we were 4 possessions away from this and that. Art Vanderlei in the chat, Florida was only 33 possessions from being 7-5. That's some funny shit. There's a bullet point too right there for Bullet's team. Johnny, last thing I'm going to say as I transition over to Tyler here, you know what jumps out at me about this page is how Arizona couldn't win in week 13, but they had no problem crushing Vegas in week 14 and costing all of us our money into the survivor pool, Eddie. That's all I got to say about that.
Dude, man. In
Baltimore,
down.
Dude, did they lose the last 2 weeks or 2 of the last 3
They
weeks?
lost 2 out of the last 3 weeks.
2 out of the last 3.
And they, I mean, really
because you know
upsetting.
what? So T-Pat's over there. He's like, I know everybody's got us. till the end. I'm gonna screw over all these people.
Yeah, that's what he does. He plays with his playbook in the last few weeks.
That's right.
And I should have known better.
It's exactly what it is.
Arizona and Baltimore costing everybody their money.
Exactly. Fucking Baltimore and Arizona. Unbelievable. All right, Tyler, over to you, bro. The Tulsa Indianapolis game, like he mentioned, was crazy. But what do you think about that Alamo City Houston game as well? And then I'm sure you'll probably talk about your Minnesota team.
Well, Alamo City Houston, very, very tight ball game. I mean, defenses were there. They obviously were there. Less than 20 points allowed per team. Houston just unable to get the job done, and Alamo City squeaks by. And had a little help from Carolina late on to get in the playoffs. Yeah. So another crazy game. This week 14 had some of the best games of the entire season by far. So Alamo City gets the job done. I actually want to go back to Las Vegas here, Dave.
Okay.
They are, what is it? 5 straight losses? 4 straight.
It's still in the playoffs.
Four
right?
straight losses.
Still in the playoffs.
Still in the playoffs. And I'm looking at Liam and Johnny over here. You guys must be licking your chops right now because Las Vegas right now just doesn't have a really impactful moment in the last 4 weeks. They have been neutralized in their game plan, whether it be their passing attack or even try to get Scott Johnson going. They've been so one-dimensional. Scott Johnson has been one of the lowest rated running backs this entire season, just not really doing anything on the ground. It's just so bizarre for Las Vegas, who have called spunky, who have said they could really flip on a dime in a second, but they really have lost that spark for their Phoenix in a whole lot of regards. So I'm really concerned if I'm Vegas going into these playoffs. Minnesota, as you mentioned, Dave.
I think
Minnesota tonight.
Sorry, I think you mispronounced that, but do they really deserve it after that? I mean, listen, they still won the division. They still won the division because Tulsa lost.
Right. It just goes to show you how tough that division is, and Minnesota will tell you going into Liberty Park is a very tough place to play. It has been for seasons on end now.
Sioux Falls are one of the most difficult teams to sim against in the SFL.
At home. Yes, they're just anywhere. That defense, Liam, it's spot on, as you guys would say over there across the pond. Just a really, really cohesive group that we don't hear a lot of outside of their locker room. That gets their nose to the grindstone. They're a hardworking team, and of course, they showed it. They showed what they could be. If this was maybe 2-3 seasons ago, we might have seen Sioux Falls in the playoffs with how they played versus Minnesota, and a 6-6 record was all that you needed. But with everybody playing so well, it just goes to show you that you must play well week in, week out, and you cannot look over a team like DC, like Sioux Falls, like Denver, who are already out of the playoffs on your final week when you need a win.
Apparently.
Yeah. Sorry, Dave.
That's all right. It is what it is. I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It is what it is. Real quick, does anybody know the answer? Harish is asking in the chat, did Sioux Falls go undefeated at home this season? Did they just go... No, they couldn't. They couldn't have, right?
Answer.
Did they win 6 games?
No, they lost to Mexico City week 1.
Okay. So that maybe they had a 5-game win streak or something at home.
I'll get to you the answer.
Yeah,
here.
right.
Fort Worth, DC home, Houston home, Baltimore, Charleston home. Yeah, they went 5-1 at home.
At home. Okay. Well, that's not. Yeah, it's good. You protect. You protect home court, right? That's important. Liam,
they're talking. You guys are talking DC. You're talking Sioux Falls. You're talking Carolina chat, because I see 5-1.
Yeah. The person who let me see. Let me go back. Yeah, it says Sioux Falls went undefeated at home.
Sioux Falls.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, Sioux Falls.
Louisiana, Tulsa win, Seattle win, Florida win, Portland, Minnesota win. Where's 5? Tulsa, Louisiana. Yes. Yeah. Sioux Falls 6-0 at home. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Crazy. Yes. That's crazy. That's the epitome of, like I said, protecting home court. Liam, I want to save your game for you, because I know you guys were playing for seeding a little bit. You already had the division wrapped up, but was this game against Canton more about pride or revenge because of the loss you took from them earlier in the season? And then what else jumps out from you to you on these last 7 games?
There was a bit of a bit more sort of playing around with maybe some of the things that I'm sort of looking at in terms of game plan going, because there was no way necessarily of knowing who we were going to be up against. So being able to sort of have it was obviously important for us to win, but I generally feel pretty confident about our chances when we're at Queensway anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, we haven't lost in something ridiculous. Like Johnny will know, it's like 16 games or something at home.
Yeah. Who was the last team to beat? Who was the last team to beat you at
Yeah.
home again, Johnny?
I mean, Arizona beat us in the playoffs, but in the regular season, I mean, it's so I felt pretty confident going into that game, and it obviously helps when you're not. One of the things about game planning, I think you can sometimes overthink it in a sense. And if you're doing something which is you're successful at, and this I think probably contributes to some of the teams where they went 6-6, and you would not have expected them to be in that situation. Like I look at the likes of DC. If you're beating Baltimore, you shouldn't be a 6-6 team. Like just flat out. Like I know Baltimore have had a down year by their standards, but like they're still the team until someone like Atlanta or Arizona or London or whoever really grasps it and takes it off of them. DC, Houston beat us in a really good game, and they just had the answers for us. Sioux Falls, one of the most difficult teams to go up against in the SFL. You guys, I can't believe you didn't get into the playoffs. I said in week 1. I said after that game in week 1, I genuinely hand on heart thought you were championship contenders, because you got two of my best players, and Johnny did a bang up job in making sure that we got really good guys in talent and being able to sort of replace the pieces and really keep us where we wanted to be. But I think the world of Benji and Jeff, and you guys getting them, I thought that was going to be after such a great job in the off season, missing out by basically a single point. I can't believe that,
dude.
Shit.
It still fucking hurts. I'll tell you, it hurts. It was.
But I would say the thing is, a lot of we could do a lot of crystal ball gazing and stuff like that, and be like, this is what's going to happen 2 or 3 seasons from now, and we just simply don't know.
We don't know, especially with changing with the new game. We have no clue, bro.
Yeah. So it's like I think that all of the teams in the sort of middle of the pack are teams that you would expect to go on to be doing bigger and better things. And yeah, I mean, the one big question here is actually going to be Denver, because I said it on, I think it was Eddie's server or something like that. That I've been in those shoes before, and that is going to be a big upheaval. I'm telling you that now. As serious as it could get in terms of an upheaval in Denver. But we have to see what happens with Jeremy and stuff like that, I suppose. It's just speculating, but that's just how I see it panning out, basically.
Yeah, and to Denver's credit, they seem like they played better since the coaching change in the middle of the season too. So, and I think we played our first game against the other coach, so maybe they just scouted us better and beat us. And at the end of the day, Denver knocks us out of the playoffs. Harish and Carolina didn't help us at all, but you guys got in, Liam. So congrats to that. And before I didn't
even speak about our game.
Oh shit! Go ahead. Sorry, well, you started and then we got sidetracked.
We did what we needed to do, basically, and it gave us a bit more sort of tape in terms of some of the things that I want to do in the playoffs, so that was nice. And yeah, I mean, good season to Canton, but I was surprised that they got rid of I think it's Kendra. Kendra's a free agent now.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I meant to make a graphic for free agents and I forgot, but what I'll do, since you brought it up, Liam, we'll do a little segue here. We'll talk about free agents, and then we'll start talking about playoffs. And Liam, since I'm talking to you, I'll just start with you because we're going to end with you later with the Owner's Box segment anyway. Free agent names. So I think from Canton, I've seen Bob Funk. I've seen Kendra Hall. I've seen there was one more Cam Curtis. As you know, Fox declared free agency today. Yesterday was I saw two yesterday. Who am I missing, you guys? Cliff Allen.
I can go off the full list.
I don't want to know everybody. I just want the big names and the ones that have been
The Menners.
very recent.
Menners, the Horrells.
Oh, the Menners, the Horrells, or Horrells. Yeah.
I'm really surprised.
Tyler Falk.
I'm really surprised by just how large the free agency pool is. But maybe I shouldn't be, just because of.
Are you surprised at how large it is, Liam, or how large it is so quickly since we're still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's the speed of I think this was why I made the point I made about Tyler, and I think I should state it for the record and for the audience. It's not a personal thing. It's not a personal attack when I'm saying.
I was wondering if that was going to come up during this segment.
I don't necessarily agree with just coming out the day after but I apologize to Tyler because now I've spoken to him about it and understanding it a bit better, it sort of clarifies things. But I would just say. Yeah, I mean, certainly, from a personal standpoint as an owner, I've always felt like I would wait to approach people until after their season is done. I always feel like giving it a few days to cool off after the end of your actual season as well is a good idea, just in terms of good practice. But yeah, I mean, I suppose with the new game, free agency is a complete. Like, nobody knows what the established sort of rules are going to be. I get, aside from the obvious, there will be a salary cap. People will get a certain number of points. Like, that's basically it. We don't know on what grounds this is all going to be played out. I would say on Canton specifically that I think that one of the biggest mistakes I made early as an owner, Jeffrey Daggs will never let me forget it. Because I had a Hall of Fame return guy there who, has been running over teams for years in Mexico City. And he played in London his first season. And, he calls me out in his Hall of Fame speech. But I think it says a lot to when I put that team together after my initial season as an expansion team. The initial season was really difficult. We didn't have a draft. We were just getting people in as we could. And you don't realize what you've got if you're not evaluating properly after the end of the season. And I worry with Canton, I mean, you're getting rid of the quarterback. That says it all in my mind.
And we don't know. We don't know, really. We don't know, did they get rid of them or did they decide to leave on their own accord? I haven't really seen any statements. Actually, Tyler, let me segue to you, and then I'll go backwards on this one. You announced your free agent. You and Liam already talked. I will say this, Liam, too. You don't have to respond to this, just kind of for general knowledge out there. I think there is a difference, and Liam, you actually brought this up in the pre-show, a difference between looking at free agency from a player point of view and looking at it from an owner point of view. If I'm a player, I probably want to get there as soon as I can, right, so I can try to get the best deal I can to the best team I want to get to. I'm assuming that's was part of your thinking as well, Tyler. But as you look at the list, did I miss any other kind of big names that have already said they're going to be free agents for the season 21?
So officially, there was a question of the Horrells are done by Hunter North.
Done as in retiring?
Right, but from what we have been gathering here, the Horrells are not retired; they are free agents. They are official free agents according to all reliable sources. That includes by their front office. That includes from certain statements being made to myself at this time. We did have another retirement. Jacob Clear is now retired, his player.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that.
As of about 10 minutes ago. Jacob Clear is now retired.
Jacob, why don't you just come on the show and do it, bro? You were in the chat a few minutes ago.
There we go. A couple other names. I think we mentioned Bob Funk.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Funk's name is on there. As far as other free agents on there, Bryant James of Indianapolis, the man of the hour versus in the Indianapolis game, Jeff Banfield is a free agent.
That's right. I did see that one.
Benjamin Warner, a Portland fame, is a wide receiver along with Khalil Thomas. It seems like they're a package deal the way they have left that locker room. David Gears, one of the most, in my opinion, one of the best up and coming wide receivers of his rookie class.
Is Benjamin Warner the one who's related to Eddie, or is that Ben Stone? Or who am I thinking of there?
I don't.
It's like
that might be Ben
Eddie's
Stone.
nephew. Is it Ben Stone? Okay.
You might be Nelson's nephew.
Okay.
Nelson Lozano
Well,
Jr.'s nephew.
I know
Like
Eddie
that.
has a nephew somewhere, and I thought his name was Ben, but either way. Okay, Bo Martin Jr. says Ben Stone.
It's Ben Stone, Fort Worth.
Okay, thank you, Gunny.
Other than
Johnny's agent calling him right now, trying to. He's just doing that to show Liam that he wants a bigger contract. Let me go ahead and wrap up Tyler, so I can go to Mike.
I'll quickly try and wrap up with Liam's comments. And knowing how I like football, aka soccer for
Football.
us Yanks here, but I understand British humor and British mentality. They're a much more blunt sort of folk. They don't mince words, and they say what's on their mind. And I'm all here for the banter. I'm all here for it. I didn't take Liam's comments disrespectful at all. In fact, we were talking here pre-show, and he said himself he misquoted me a couple times, just as a broad overview. But from all intents and purposes, I'll be full up front with everybody. Full disclosure. I had come to Ross and Gerald right after week 7 had ended, and I had told them, "Hey, this is my last season." And we worked out a plan so that we know you want to go out and talk to teams. We know that, but can you hold off until the end of the regular season? I'm like, that's fine with me. I still want to win a championship with you guys while I'm here. I still want what's best for the Louisiana organization, so that's what I did. When it came to us knowing that Louisiana would not make the playoffs, Ross came to me and said, "Hey, we hate to see you go. You've been a fantastic member for this organization, and what do we want to do? How do we want to go about announcing?" And I said, "You know what? I would prefer it be a joint announcement or a little bit of column A, column B." And he said, "All right, that's fine with us. We'll make the announcement to the team." And I said, "Hey, I've got this letter I'd like posted. Let's get this done by such and such time, or before the announcement is made." Boss made the announcement in our chat. I said my farewell to the team, and that letter to me, I've always been more of a professional guy, and even while I'm in role play mode where it's gonna ruffle some feathers, how we role play, how we want our careers to go,
Right,
and how we want to handle
right.
things. But I felt it was important for me to be professional in that regard, to not only to Louisiana but to the entire league. Is here's my statement, here's my general statement for everyone that needs to know. I thoroughly enjoyed my time in Louisiana, personally, truthfully. Ross and Gerald are two of the most amazing people, in my opinion, to grow under, to work with. Just two great people. Learned a lot from Coach and Liam while I was over there. Liam and myself mended a bridge that from our time in San Diego, and came into a really good working relationship. But I consider Liam and the rest of the guys and gals over in Louisiana my friends over there. And so it does look, from an ownership point of view, and this is where Liam was taking it, that it's one day after their season is done. Why announce it so early? But just like everything, we don't know the entire full story of everything unless we talk about it. And so me and Liam, we talked about it pre-show, and there's no hard feelings between me and Liam. Me and Liam are still drinking buddies. He's my favorite drinking buddy from across the pond. So
okay, but he's also your only drinking buddy from across the pond. So I mean,
yeah, no,
I'm just saying, just say. So let me segue what you just said over to Johnny. Johnny, Tyler's not the first person to announce his free agency from Louisiana on this show, or not announce it necessarily, but talk about it on the show. You, I would assume, see it more from a player's point of view, and for a player to be able to, take control of his destiny, get out there and get what he can as soon as he can, and what have you. How do you feel about free agents that announce while they're still in the playoffs or they're still in the season?
Yeah, so I'm a players guy, even though I've done work in the front office, and I think I can see it from both points of view. I think that I want to give all the power to the players possible without calling what they're doing quote unquote taboo. And I think that's part of the growth with the league, kind of as I was talking to and alluded to earlier. As this league has grown, we've seen the front offices take things more seriously, the coaching staffs take things more seriously. Those units grow, those become more competitive, and I think the players are doing the same thing, and they're kind of setting the market for themselves, and they realize the game that they have to play. Now that it's not just a number, I have, it's becoming very little for all. What's phasing out is the idea that all you have to do is progress, and then I'm done.
Right.
That's the bare minimum.
Right.
Now we demand things from our players. We demand contribution. We demand social media. We demand a great leadership in the locker room. We want to see what else people can bring to the table. So they want to also get the best bang for their buck. I'm not against any player that quickly announces free agency. I think that's going to become the trend, that once your team gets eliminated, it's kind of an immediate release publicly. And I think privately, it's okay to go talk to teams if you're a player mid-season. And I think as a GM as well, I would counter kind of Liam's line of thinking in that some teams want to stay reserved and give people a step back, or not step on your toes. But really, I think that the best GMs and the most cutthroat, hard-nosed staff in this game, they're already putting together their lineups for next season.
Yep.
Halfway through the season.
Yep.
Yep. They're ahead of the game.
100%.
Of all these free agents that just announced their free agency, I would all but guarantee that 50% or more know where they're going to play next year already. And that is something to be understood. The fact is that means that they had conversations while their team seasons were still going on with other teams. That means that other GMs were in their DMs, making deals. We're on the phone with them. We're making deals. We're setting their teams up for success and setting themselves up as players for success for the future. Now, you run the risk when you do some things like that. Things can backfire. It can not look good if you publicly put out there that you're a free agent while your team's in the middle of a playoff run or in the middle of the season in week 8 or something like that. That can not look good, and you may deter certain folk from wanting to recruit someone who does that. But that's the risk you run. If you want to put yourself out there, though, so everybody knows and there's no confusion that you're a free agent, that's how you get calls. That's how you get offers. I know people that signed with a team, and then they're like, "Oh man, if I knew you were looking for a receiver, I would have loved to have But
Right.
these guys reached out. These guys, we've all dealt with that. It's like, well, you didn't put yourself out there publicly. You let one guy get to you, and you let him sell you some snake oil, and you made a deal. You know what I mean? So I mean, it is what it is. So I don't mind these guys putting themselves out there for the entire market to attack them in every way that they want to. I would lean towards the side of wanting to do it after my team season is over. But again, I'm always going to, side with the players, because I think that, the GMs or the front offices that say, players shouldn't do that. It's like, dude, if you're running a good organization, you're doing the same thing as a GM. You're inside.
You're already talking to other players, so you're being hypocrite.
You know who's going to leave your team.
Yep.
And who you have eyes on to replace those people with. So we're all playing the game here. It's just getting more advanced as the seasons continue.
Here's what I find interesting. So we got Liam's kind of point of view from an owner. We got you. We got Tyler from a player. We got you from a player and a GM. I want to hear what Mike O'Neill has to say. Mike, you are one of the few people that contribute and don't have a player, right? You are a coach, so you're not an owner and you're not a player. You're a coach. Does this system affect you differently? And let me just, I want to reiterate something Johnny said. I want to piggyback on it a little bit. I fully agree that any GM, any owner, any team that's not already working on their team at least halfway through the season for the following season, it's way behind the 8 ball. If you're a team like, let me see, what are the top 4 teams? Atlanta, Arizona, Fort Worth, and Baltimore that are going to make deep runs to the playoffs. If you wait till your playoff run's over, Mike, there's not going to be any free agents left for you to get. And maybe you don't need them because you're such a good team. You made a deep run in the playoffs. But I personally, even as an owner, I was a player for several years before I became an owner. I don't have a problem with it. GMs are doing it. Why can't the players doing it? But you as a coach, does it affect you differently, and how do you see it?
So, I mean, it's weird, right? Because I feel like the coaching aspect is kind of directly in between, like the coach and the player. As a coach, for me personally, I mean, hell yeah, I want to know who I've got next season. I want to know, like, and on the flip side of that, I want to know who's leaving. You know, if somebody is planning on leaving, it doesn't matter to me. If somebody, for instance, if I were in Louisiana's shoes, and if I were Ross or, you know, coach over there, I would actually be thankful that Tyler's coming to me
back in week 7. Yeah.
Exactly, because I'm like, look, I know from the get-go, like, I'm going to need a safety, like, period. I know I'm going to need a safety. I know who I can, you know, and that's not to say that I would go reaching out to try and talk to anybody, but you kind of get that plan set in stone, and then you start creating, like, a plan B, plan C. Like, what happens if we can't get a same caliber player that we had? What can we do schematically to try and figure that out, to try and fill those holes? You know, should the situation arise that you can't fill that hole. So I think that, yeah, I think it's a good thing that players are getting out there and trying to get contracts. And look, we're heading into no man's land, right, with season 21. And I think that's why you see this free agents class so crazy right now, is because everybody's like, nobody knows what it's going to look like, and I just can't wait for week 1 of season 21 to see what these teams look like. Because you're looking at these names. I mean, you know, you've got Kendra, you've got the Harrells, you've got, you know, the Minners, like
Bob
everybody.
Funk and Cliff Allen. Cliff Allen just joined the chat.
I mean, I feel bad for broadcasters next season. Shit, dude. Like, people are going to be like,
Hey, you know what? all the more reason to allow us all to change to whatever numbers we want. So if the broadcasters are going to be screwed on the names, you might as well do it on the numbers. I'm putting my vote in now for players to have whatever number they want. So vote for me.
Yeah, that is something. Okay, if you're listening, Cam, here you go. Honestly, it's going to be exciting, though, man. I think the free agent class is really good, and it's good for the league, right? Like Johnny said earlier, this league is great with parity, and like you said, we're getting better and better and better every season with more storylines and more things to talk about. What is season 21 going to look like with all of these moving pieces? Yeah. Where is everybody going to land? And then what the hell are these teams going to look like with these players? We might see some of these players that we're used to. Kendra Wells, you know, being a deep threat. She was a deep threat in Vancouver, and, you know, even some in Canton. But we might not see her like that in season 21. We might see, you know, these players be completely different from what they are right now. So it's going to be crazy. And I think that this free agency is a little bit exaggerated just because of the move. But nonetheless, I mean, I'm excited to see what it holds.
Liam, I'm going to segue into the owner's box. But before I really jump into that portion of it, Tyler, give me can you throw me a couple big name free agents that are in the playoffs? And because I want to ask Liam as an owner, I want to ask him because it goes back to how we originally started this conversation with you.
Jeff Banfield, Fox Highwind are just the two wide receivers that really
and Cliff Allen, who just jumped in. So Cliff Allen's I'm going to talk about. So Liam, here's my question, and I thought of it. I can't remember either during when Johnny was talking or Mike was talking. If I'm a guy who knows I'm going to be a free agent, right? I know I'm going to leave, but my team is in the midst of a playoff run. Johnny said he personally wouldn't announce it, but are they putting themselves behind the 8 ball when this flood of non-playoff team free agents are already declaring free agency? Do you think there's an urgency there at that point for playoff team free agents to get in there, you know, to throw their name out there so they can actually get a bigger piece of the pie, or the piece of the pie that they want, as opposed to having to wait and then all those non-playoff team free agents took all the good spots?
No, I don't think it's necessary at all. I just think there's enough. I mean, if a team wants a particular player, I know from having worked with Johnny and having worked with Chad in the past and Slim before him and Tanner, like we know we have particular people in mind, and those people are going to be in there. If they're in a playoff team, they're going to be in there after the fact. And I think rushing into it, everybody operates very quickly nowadays because it's just an instantaneous thing. I don't see that there's. I think going back to the point about Tyler, what I was going to say, I agree with his point about maybe I took certain things out of context and was wrong in my interpretation of them. What I would say is, I believe that Tyler does have a plan, and clearly, if you've already made that agreement or something with Louisiana in terms of doing that, I don't think that Tyler has been waiting half a season in order to make any plans or anything like that. And he doesn't have to say yes or no to that. It's just an assumption based off the fact that if you've already got that going on in your head, then you're gonna, I would do it. And it goes to the same thing about the sort of speculation about Johnny, for example. Like, nobody knows each other better than in terms of my understanding of the league. Like, Johnny and I are talking basically every week, so I know where we are, and I know where London is, and what my plans are, and stuff like that, or what I am planning on doing. Nobody's going out and saying, "Oh, Johnny's speaking to X team or whatever." Johnny's got absolutely any right to do what he wants to do. I'm not his dad. Like, he can do whatever the fuck he wants.
Right.
But we always know like where we stand with each other, and I think that's the same with any of my players. And I think the people who have actually worked with me, I'm never going to claim that I'm perfect. There's things that I would want to do better. I'm always learning every single season. Like, when I first came into the SFL, I had absolutely no idea from an offensive or defensive game planning standpoint what I was doing. And maybe I still don't. But I like to think that certainly I've grown as a person, both in terms of what I do off the field, but also in terms of my sort of coaching ability. And I think that's just something you get experience. It's all about experience.
Right.
And I think that, I just think for me over the past season, I mean, I'm burnt out. I think it's probably fair to say. I don't think it's surprising anybody. But I'm not like, I still, nobody wants the SFL to succeed more than me. I maybe Cam.
Well,
but
yeah.
I've been here I've been here for so long now, and nothing I say is ever done with the intent of being like a wrecker. I think. So maybe a bit of a sidetrack to your original question, Dave. But
that's okay. We're in the owner's box now, so you can pretty much you've got a little free reign.
I don't think people need to rush. Just be considered about what you're doing. Okay.
So let me, since we're talking about you, and not knowing about coaching and stuff when you first started, let's start there. Let's go back to there. What season did you join the SFL, and how did you hear about it?
Oh, blimey. I think I joined in season 8. So my original... So I've been a football fan since 2007. So my dad brought me back a Steve Smith jersey. He used to do a bit of work in Raleigh in Carolina, obviously. And he brought back a Steve Smith jersey. And I just started playing Madden. I think I've started playing like Madden 06 or something like that. And just sort of started learning. I mean, I was basically coming from ground zero. I literally understood nothing about the game. So probably Yeah, I mean, I can't even remember what year that would have been now. Probably around 2018, 2017, I think.
But season 8. So when you got here,
Yeah.
what was the first thing you did? Were you a player? Did you jump straight into
I-
ownership? How did you kind of take us through your progression a
Yeah.
little bit at the beginning?
So I was a player, and I did a little bit of scouting in St. Louis. So that's where my sort of connection comes from with Colin and Dwayne. And yeah, I was there for a few seasons. I got London in season 10. I did apply in season 9 just because the evolution of the league at that stage. You have to remember, we're talking probably like hundreds of people in total, and not necessarily talking about active membership. And obviously, the league has expanded massively since then. This was prior to the season 9 championship game, which was the first one that we had on the Twitch front page. And I believe that was Chicago and Mexico City. But so I did a bit of scouting. I sort of wrote up reports and stuff and shared that with Dwayne and Colin. And yeah, it's all sort of developed from there. Obviously, it had a lot of involvement in that time with sort of James Richards. James Richards was doing a lot of the sort of coaching side stuff at that time.
I've heard his name come up a couple times through this owner box segment, actually.
Yeah. I think it goes to the point of, I made a point in one of the other servers about like the Hall of Fame stuff. And I would say the same thing, that I have no regrets in terms of what I said, that I think that there are people, you can't tell the story of the SFL without them. And someone who precedes me, who has never gotten the recognition in that regard, I think is Andy. Because Andy's one of the best defensive coordinators in SFL history, as far as I'm concerned. I put him up there with Eddie and Max. And he, what he's done across the breadth of his entire contribution to the SFL, he should be under consideration for that, and has never really sort of deigned to sort of do that. So I've always felt like I would say the same thing about someone like you or someone like Johnny. Tyler and Mike are probably sort of getting closer to that point. Like Tyler, especially in terms of what he's doing with the broadcasting and with the awards and stuff. That I think is a really key thing about what takes you from being like a really big name in the community to being a Hall of Fame worthy person. And I think that's something where we still have a lot of those sort of old guard people who maybe not necessarily had a sort of looking in that. Even someone like, like Shan Varner, for example, like Johnny made the quip earlier, and it's like people should remember that. Like, I think it's the same thing with like
it's part of our
Barry
history.
Bonds. Barry Bonds is like the Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame. Like I think he should still be in there, even though you've got the asterisk. But I went from sort of doing that stuff, went into ownership, and I'd probably say I still went into ownership too early, in a sense. I went in season 10, and I think.
Take us, Liam. Take us from season 10, getting your team through like maybe season 13, 14, when Johnny and I got here. Because we before we got here, we only know what we hear. So take us through London, those first few seasons.
I can't bloody remember.
Too much drinking with Tyler.
I mean the first couple of seasons. It's again a very different era. We basically came in. We were the first team to come in the post-progression era. So we came in along with sort of Ryan Moats in San Francisco, Tulsa, New Orleans. I think we predated them by a few seasons. I can't remember who else it was. I'm sure someone will probably remember. There's another team in season 10. It wasn't Vancouver.
Season 10.
I don't think. But yeah, like we came in, and we had like a few seasons where it was very much an educational experience, because the first season I went in with sort of big ideas in terms of what I wanted to do with game planning or stuff like that. We went 3-1 initially, and then we slid, and I never spent any time in the playoffs from my first season in the SFL when I was in St. Louis all the way up until like season 17.
Oh, jeez.
So it was like
that's a long drought, bro. Holy
exactly.
smokes.
So that's why for me sort of persistence and just sort of continuing to learn and develop, I think was a very big thing. And I couldn't have done it without the people helping me, like people like Slim. Slim was an owner in London for a couple of seasons. And is a good friend of mine. Obviously, being someone else who's UK based and has a passion for football is a really big thing. Guys like Chad, guys like Johnny. I mean, the thing I think a lot of people kind of forget is Johnny was one of the first people. I was one of the first people that Johnny spoke to when he came into the league, and I knew from speaking to him initially, I was trying to get him on London as some sort of staff member or something like that, because like the guy, he has such a depth of knowledge of sports and esports in general. Like, who wouldn't want Johnny Baker on their team? And this is part of the whole sort of I think the persona in a sense, and what Johnny brings to the SFL. The SFL would be lesser without him, and I think it was the same with you, Dave. Like, if you weren't in the SFL anymore, like you were out for a season, suddenly the SFL is a lot less without you, and I think that you need all sorts to sort of create that sort of environment. And I've always felt that with London. I think that it speaks a lot to I'm more proud of the thing I'm most proud of, aside from any of the sort of achievements that I've sort of, like, in terms of coaching, like a lot of the offensive stuff, I would say, and I think probably anybody who sort of you would discuss it with, who I've gotten on with or worked with, like someone like Gerald, for example. Gerald, obviously, really good head coach in Louisiana and someone I'm quite close with. But if you speak to those guys or someone like Chad or someone like Johnny, you probably get to understand me a bit better. And also, for me personally, being there in person with people, when you're seeing people you would have never expected to ever meet before, and probably for other people with me, it feels much more so because I'm someone you would never have expected to go to places like convention and stuff like that.
Right.
It means a lot to me, especially when you think about someone like Matt as well, Matt Wilson. It was very emotional for me. I can't even imagine how it must have felt for Mike.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important when you're going back through the SFL. Like, we don't forget people like Matt, because it embodies what the SFL is about. So I think there's a lot of different things that comes up with me. I know that I can be a dick sometimes, and people. I probably argue with people.
You just saw 3 of the 4 people on this show smirk when you said that, right?
Yeah, well, it's. But I never have felt like I said about the transition with the game earlier in the season, and that was a political move. I mean, that was purely a political move on my part. And people can disagree with me or not, but I think it's a valid point to make in terms of we're in this situation waiting for free agency. We don't really have an idea of what free agency is actually going to be.
We don't yet.
And I think that's a valid point to bring up.
It is.
And yeah.
All right, 2 more quick questions. We got about 4 more minutes on this segment. First question is the transition. So would you say it was one of these 2 things or the other, or a combination of both? The segue, the transition to your success in London happening over the last few years. You just said you were here from season 8 to season 17, never made the playoffs. Is it you changing? Is it the people you brought in being different, or that you could work with better? Is it the personnel? Was it you? Was it you learning the game more? Was it a combination of all these things? What was the big difference between a London team from season 10 to season 17, never making the playoffs, and now two division titles in a row and the number 1 seed last year, actually?
I mean, I think it's a bit of I think it's a bit of both. I think you have to remember the Reggie Street is like his single game record. That was in a season where we didn't make it into the playoffs. So I think I've always like the big thing that I really sort of hit on was, and it's something that I'm most proud of, is like the offensive stuff and really nailing that down, and like with a lot of the screens and sort of running game and making sure that finesse backs. I think we really, along with Sioux Falls, were one of the first big teams to sort of bring in finesse backs as like the meta, to the extent where I've got a huge respect for Demond. But I know that it's probably, but for both of us, one of our less proud moments where we got into a big argument over Reggie being overpowered because he was like a big running back who could dart this way and that way without any sort of difficulty. But like, that sort of thing, being able to come up with those sorts of innovations, that's why I differentiate the innovation that I sort of did with the offense in London to like innovations elsewhere where you're experimenting for the sake of it. Like the first season St. Louis had in the SFL, I think I can't remember who it was. It might have been Colin. They went with like a really unorthodox setup, and obviously it ended up the way that you would kind of expect.
Right.
And that I think is the sort of differentiation there. I think
you definitely were patient with the Robert Merrill thing, because I know that we've had some discussions. We destroyed Robert Merrill on this show back when you guys were first kind of building him up.
Mike was giving Chad and he didn't give me shit. He gave Chad shit though,
right,
over the running play, and then the next season he went freaking with the MVP.
Right,
so.
Exactly. So it's a combination, I guess, of what you're saying is the personnel, the people you brought in, people like Johnny, people like Chad, but also your own personal growth, your own personal learning the system, learning the coaching better, that kind of stuff. I've seen a difference just in the few years I've been here, from London, from season 13-14 when I got here, to the last couple of seasons. Last question for you. We're over time, but I mean, that's what we do here. Without going in too crazy and too much time, so let's call it 90 seconds. How do you feel about the new direction of the league for season 21, moving on to the new game? I've asked every owner this question, so don't feel like I'm just asking you.
Nah, that's okay. Look, I want what's best for the SFL, and Cam is the person with a plan. And he's been able to achieve things that I wouldn't have thought possible with the resources that he has, and this is his league, and at the end of the day the buck stops with him. I can express my opinion on something and I can think I'm right, but at the end of the day it's not my responsibility to be right or wrong, and I can't make these decisions. I think it could work out. My personal opinion is that I think I would rather have stayed with 2K8. But if the league is going to go with a different platform, that's fine. And you can pursue that, and you have to commit to it and be 100% committed to it to be able to deliver on that. And that's fine. And yeah, I just, my biggest concern is, we've been doing this for so long on one way, and we know the places that we have to deal with certain things, we have to go with it. And I think once the rubber hits the road, people may feel differently over what they originally... One of the most disheartening things is for me, I'll wrap this up very quickly after this, Dave. APF is still a good game. You can still like APF whilst also liking a new product. You don't have to shit on APF to justify what you are doing elsewhere. And that was one of the most frustrating things, I think, for me about this whole thing is, I think that is something that some people are doing. and I don't think it's right. It's not something I would do. I think there's probably a bit of hypocrisy in what I say, because I probably shat a little bit on 2K4 without knowing necessarily what we're getting in for, and that's okay. People are going to have differing opinions on it, but we all want what's best for the SFL.
Agreed.
And that's the key thing.
And I think that's the one thing we can agree on. All right. Liam, first of all, thanks for being here for the Owner's Box segment. I know you got to stick around for the rest of the show. Liam Crowder, folks, the very first person in Access Live history to pull double duty as a special surprise co-host and be on the Owner's Box segment. Liam, thank you for that. Appreciate it. We're getting ready to go into pick'ems, and we're going to talk some more playoffs. But before we do, we have to do one more quick thing. I forgot to tell these guys to give me a Diva of the Week, so we don't have a Diva of the Week. So I chose a Diva of the Week. So instead, I got the wrong one there. So the Diva of the Week for this past week is none other than Mike O'Neill's chair. And got 100% of the vote because I was the only one who voted. So boom, there you go. I feel like I would have I think I would have had a lot of support from the party people and the SFL community as a whole. So there you go, folks. We'll put that in the chat later. You can vote in there if you want for something we already decided on. There you go. Welcome to Access Live.
Mike see's really happy right now.
He seems really thrilled to death about that, doesn't he? All right, here we go. This is where we're gonna really kind of talk some shit, I think. And we're going to change this up. Normally we do predictions and pick'ems, and we ask you guys, we go through each game and you tell me who you're going to pick. Instead, I'm going to put a little twist on it. But since there's only 4 games and there's 4 panelists, and Mike O'Neill, just by luck of the draw, you're going to get first choice. I'm going to let Mike O'Neill pick the first game and the first winner and tell all of us why that team's going to win. That means Liam's getting screwed. He's going to get the leftovers. But he just talked for like 20 minutes, so I figure I'd give him a break. All right, so Mike O'Neill, the first game in the wild card weekend, what's your guarantee win, and tell us why?
My guaranteed win here, I was going to take one, but I'm going to save it for somebody else on the panel. I'm going to go with Indy and Vancouver. Vancouver's out. Indy's taking this one. If you're Vancouver and you just get beat, if you get beat twice by Portland in the same season, and no discredit to Portland. Portland's a good team, but listen, Indianapolis, they've got. You saw Jeff Banfield, like you saw what Indianapolis is capable of, and I don't think Vancouver has the firepower, even if they wanted to keep up with Indianapolis if Indianapolis gets rolling.
Okay. We're going to go around the horn on this game now since he picked it, and then Johnny, I'll come to you for your guaranteed pick. So Indianapolis and Vancouver, who do you got in that one?
Oh, man. I know Vancouver has – I think they're undefeated in first-round games.
They are.
And they're at home, but boy, Indianapolis, I know that they got a lot going for them right now. They're motivated, they're well coached. It's gonna be, it could be the match of the weekend really. And we're starting out with it at 6:30 on Saturday. If I got to pick, I'm going to say Indianapolis loses a heartbreaker, and Vancouver keeps their undefeated streak at home alive. And I hope Chad doesn't call me about that one tomorrow. But I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be one of those, either a turnover by Colin Pierce at the end of the game, or block punt, last second field goal. Something happens for Vancouver, at home. And up north, and they get it done, and they survive the weekend.
So, something I forgot to mention real quick before I go to you, Tyler. The results, they didn't change. That's why I forgot to mention them. Last week, this is how terrible they did last week. This is how bad the panel did last week. Tyler and Paulie tied at 7-7, right? Terrible, which lowered Tyler's overall percentage for the season. Mike O'Neill did even worse and went 5-9. who did the best last week out of all the panelists? Mike O'Neill's chair went 9-5, and that is why he is Diva of the Week. Mike O'Neill's chair picking better than Mike O'Neill. So nothing changes for the swag at the end. Josh still in the lead by 1 percentage point over Daniel and Marcus. Dude, I tried to get Marcus on the show last week, and he's like, "Oh no, I have to go on a cruise or something." And I'm like, "That's bullshit. You just don't want to come on again because then you have to go into the multi-week category and lose your 100%." So good call by Marcus Dunhill not to come back on the show, I guess. And then the other thing I was going to mention is your guaranteed pick is going to be worth 2 points this week. So Mike O'Neill, your 2 points rooting for Indy. We'll get to yours, Johnny, in a second once we go around the panel on the rest of this game. Tyler, who do you have for Indianapolis at Vancouver?
Look, Vancouver has not lost an opening round in 7 seasons, 6 in a row. Don't tell them what happens after they win one game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They'll really nip you in the butt for that.
Yep.
Anywho, what is it with Mike O'Neill picking against Portland and all of a sudden being right though? Especially last week.
Well, I mean, it was one of his 5 correct picks. I mean,
right. I mean, it's almost impossible to fathom, why Vancouver lost and how truly dominated they were at home when they played back in week 9. Only week 9. That's only 5 weeks away from here. Only a month out. But it was all 3 phases: offense, defense, special teams, even. But I'm right there with Johnny on this one. Vancouver will not lose this game. You have a stout defense that now has game tape. Andy now has game tape to look at what Indy did to them in week 9.
That's a good point.
That's why Vancouver is going to win.
That's a good point. Liam,
Andy had game tape from Portland before, and Christian Brown just threw 7 interceptions and 0 touchdowns.
So, Liam, you touted Andy's defensive prowess, if you will, earlier. But Chad also was your head coach, I think, right, for a couple seasons over there in London. So
yeah.
You've got 2 of your buddies going at it here, Indianapolis at Vancouver. Who do you think is going to come out victorious?
Oh, man. I really don't know with this one. I give it to Vancouver, which is going to make Chad really pissed off with me and Johnny, because neither of us giving it to him is going to be a difficult one for him to swallow. The only reason I give it to Vancouver is home field. It is about as much of a toss-up as you could possibly get, especially after Vancouver. I was just looking back at their results, and they're such an up-and-down team.
They really are.
Like they were one of the most difficult teams for us to play last season, and that was the 2 games last season where I really felt I had to put the work in was Sioux Falls and Vancouver, and to win that game away at Vancouver was one of the most enjoyable things that I've done in the SFL, and you have to work for it. So I just, I think Vancouver edge it, but you're talking about as close a game as you could possibly get. But I think Vancouver will just about edge it. Not for anything that Chad would do wrong. I just think that it is going to be that close. So.
Yeah, I think Johnny hit the nail on the head. This is a game. This might be the best game yet. This might have been should have been I don't know. Is Saturday night the prime time, Johnny? You think of these 4 games? What's the prime time? Should they have been slotted differently?
I mean, this game is on national TV. This is the game on NLSC,
okay.
So it makes sense.
Gotcha. That
Hey
does
Tyler,
make sense.
can you give me a check on what Vancouver's home record is? At home this season?
Somebody in the
it's-
in the chat said that they have not been good at home this season.
It's not good. They were on a home stand from weeks 2 to 5. They went 2-2, then they come back off their bye. They lose 1 to Louisiana, lose another 1 to Indianapolis.
Ooh.
Then they beat LA and Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
So
What
it's
was
been-
the,
think
what was the
those-
final of that Indianapolis-Vancouver game? Because Indianapolis won the first one.
That game finished with, it was 34-23, Indianapolis over.
I remember that one
possessions.
didn't even appear that close. Like Indianapolis beat them pretty good that day.
So wait.
I
So
think
what
it
was
had
the
to do
home?
something
So what was Vancouver's home record this season?
I wanna say it
Fox
was-
is saying in the chat they have not been good at home this season.
Right. Their record on my screen. Why is it 4-5? I have 70. That can't be right.
There's some.
think
Is there,
that-
Let me double. I think they're
3-3.
2 and. I think they're 3-3 or 2-4. I'll double check on that.
They beat Minnesota in February, and then they beat Sioux Falls and LA.
so 3-3.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
I think that the Sioux Falls game is the measuring stick. I actually, now seeing the score of the Indy game,
Are you
it
are
really
you changing your pick, Liam?
I'm gonna stick with Vancouver. I just think I still just think it's too close to call though.
Okay.
And that is absolutely the game that they should have put on TV as well.
I think Liam said it right too. Whenever he said that it really is a toss-up, and Vancouver's such an up and down team.
Yeah.
I think it really just depends on what you get, and because look, Indianapolis is an up and down team too. All I'm saying is if Indianapolis comes out and fires on all cylinders on offense like they do, I just don't think Vancouver can stop it. If they stop the pass of Indianapolis, Vancouver's got it.
All right. Well, the panel picks Vancouver 3-1. The only one who picked was the guaranteed pick of Mike O'Neill picking Indianapolis. We move on to the second game. Or actually, we move on to Johnny. Sorry. Johnny, of the 3 remaining games, what's your guaranteed pick? And tell us why.
I mean, if you're going to guarantee, I got to go London.
All right, look at Liam. Liam's like, damn it, that's the game I wanted.
You're welcome.
I look forward to talking about the other games. But yeah, if you're looking for my guarantee, it's London. It really doesn't matter who we're up against. I mean, I think that all of us Knights feel pretty damn comfortable at Queensway. But then you take into effect, not only is Las Vegas a team that seems all out of sorts right now and is 4 games in a row. They're confused in the coach's room, I believe. And on the other hand, Liam, I think, has them exactly where he wants them, and he's not confused in the coach's office. We know what we're doing. We know what we're going to bring to the table. And so not only are they not playing at their best, but when they were playing at their best earlier in the season, we spanked them. And so. I mean, I can't remember. I think we went to Vegas and beat them, but I don't really know. All I know is that we won that game and it wasn't too close. So it's a rematch. I expect them to give us their best. It's no slight towards that organization. Their quarterback, they throw a lot this season. There's not as balanced as they've been in past seasons. They throw a lot, and I think he's averaging over 3 interceptions a game. Second most interceptions in the entire league, 38 interceptions on the year, and that's not a good mix, with the London secondary and the fact that we take care of the ball more than we give it away, and so I think that's London's game, and I think it might be one of the most boring ones to watch this weekend.
Tyler, who do you have in this Vegas at London game?
You're asking me, right? I didn't hear you were asking.
Yeah,
Dave.
yeah, no. So Johnny picked London as his guaranteed win. So I'm asking you, who do you think is going to win Vegas at London?
I just didn't hear you ask me. You said who you picking. Anywho, there's a song I like called "Downward Spiral," and unfortunately, that's kind of what Las Vegas' season is doing. 4 straight losses. There just seems to be no cohesiveness to the game plan at the moment. They're trying to recover from losing 4 straight. I don't see it happening. I see London going through to the next round.
Okay. I'm going to save Liam for last on this one just because it's his team and I know what he's going to say, but I want his rationale behind it. So, Mike O'Neill, let me jump over to you real quick. Vegas at London, Sunday night at 6:30 p.m.
I'm going to go London, but let me say this. Don't be shocked if Las Vegas turns it on. Because just because they've lost 4 in a row doesn't mean that they're not capable. Because remember, they went
spunky.
They went on that streak. That wasn't by accident. You can't go on a streak in the SFL by accident, especially not that long. So don't be surprised. Me personally, I've got London winning by 7 or less for 2 factors. One, because it's at home. because even though Vancouver's been inconsistent at home this season, London is not. Right. London is consistent with winning at home, and they're consistent with winning close games when it matters. So I think it's going to be a scrappy one. I'm not thinking it's going to be a gimme. I don't think it's going to be a gimme, but I do have London winning by less than 7.
All right. Liam, you got the last word on this. We all know you're going to pick London, but tell us why.
Yeah, I mean, we don't lose at Queensway unless you really put the work in. And, last season that was Arizona, and they ultimately did what they needed to do and were the better team on the day last season. But I think I sort of learned a bit from that. I think the experience of having sort of gone against Las Vegas as well. And, I mean, in that game, we ran out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter. And at that point, you're already sort of the game is sort of sorted away, anyways. At that point, I guess. No, I agree with I agree with what Mike said. We don't take anything for granted. We always make sure to put the work in and make sure that we're absolutely certain that what we think we're going to do is going to be the best game plan out for the day. I want to put Johnny in the best position to succeed. But we also, one of the things I think was a little disappointing about last season's playoff defeats were I don't think we necessarily got the best out of Robert. And I think that with this season, maybe mixing it up a bit more in terms of what we do with Robert and getting him into the play a bit more in terms of the screen game and stuff like that.
Right.
I think it's going to be quite key. But yeah, I feel pretty confident in our chances. I would say this: if Vegas win, they will have earned it. They will have needed to done. If they put the work in, I think anybody can beat us at home if they put the work in. Any team can beat anybody in the SFL if they put the work in.
Agreed.
I just think that for us, we're probably a bit too much for them to handle, especially after a 4-game losing streak as well.
All right, so Tyler, we're on to you now for your guaranteed pick, which means you're leaving Liam with the last of the litter here. You got Alamo City at Minnesota, which, of course you have Alamo City at Minnesota, or Tulsa at Carolina.
Well, actually, I think both games are going to be fun, but when you are a new franchise, Liam put this perfectly, you are the exception at this point if you are Minnesota. They have played 12 home games at Northwood Stadium in St. Paul. They have only lost once to Tulsa back in season 19, week 7.
Okay.
Since then, they have been undefeated at home. They are 11-1 at home. Queensway is a fortress. Northwood Stadium is not even a fortress. It is the
Citadel.
Pentagon on steroids. Yes, a citadel. Fort Knox. It is the vault that you have to crack. You have to find somewhere to crack. In Minnesota, the legend, led by quarterback Johnny Reno, with one of the best running backs in Colin Hart, alongside a very dynamic, very hungry legend defense. There is no question about it. Minnesota will win this football game.
So, Minnesota?
Yes.
I mean, fuck. Jeez Louise. All right, Liam, Alamo City at Minnesota. Now, also, let's remember, Alamo City, that franchise has a pretty good playoff on-the-road record, just saying.
Yeah, I think Minnesota will win this, but I would say who's doing the game planning in Alamo City? Is that Soto?
Well, I think Soto's still the head coach. I can't remember. I know he's got a couple coordinators. Maybe Bo Martin Jr. can help. He's in the chat, so maybe he can throw it in there. Let us know. I don't know if Albert is still doing DC and stuff or not. I'm not sure.
Chad, according to the broadcast research sheet, it is now Chad Stinson.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really? So Soto isn't involved in game planning anymore?
Well, no, Soto's the head coach.
The offensive.
Oh, he is still the head coach.
The offensive coordinator is James Troll. He's also the scouting director.
Yeah, I mean, with Greg being, I mean, you know Greg quite well, Dave. I gained a lot more appreciation for Greg's game planning ability when I sort of chatted with, because Cam and I, when we went down to convention, we were stuck in a car for about 10 hours. So obviously we're talking about SFL until the cows come home, basically. And we were chatting about just different game planners in the league, and sort of chatting about the kind of work and effort that Greg puts in. I think I was sort of pleasantly surprised when I really sort of looked at his game plans in detail, in the sense of looking at what the teams are. Because I think what people, the best thing for any new person in the SFL, get APF or 2K4 or whatever, put it down, get a video of a game, and just match the plays up. And that will get you to a place where you can be one of the top tier game planners in the league. Because now you have the Bibles to actually get you to where you want to go and get your sims the right way. If you do that, like, you're gonna be set. And I think for Greg, that's probably something he does as well as anybody. That being said, I think that Minnesota is such a. I mean, the only thing I would say about Minnesota is it sounds. I think someone is it the GM said they're stepping down. I can't remember.
Yeah,
who it
Jason
is.
LaFrance, I believe. Yeah.
I mean that.
Viva la France.
Viva la
That
France.
is interesting, and I don't think that's a sign of anything in the same way as it is in Denver. I just think that's a personal thing that they're going to transition through. I don't think it will affect them on the field, but it's something that does give you food for thought. But I think Minnesota, the way that they play, they're probably one of the teams I was most impressed with as well, outside of Sioux Falls and Vancouver last season. I was sort of disappointed, but also not disappointed that we didn't go up against them this season. But yeah, I think Minnesota will have enough to get over Alamo City in this one.
All right, Mike.
Sorry about that. I'm going to go with Alamo City.
Okay,
For no other reason. I know, just to piss Tyler off. No, just for no other reason. But I think Alamo City's a scrappy team. I think they are. I think that they're not like Alamo City's, like they're not built to where they're one-dimensional, and if you shut them down, that's it. They're done. Alamo City can find ways to win, and I think that they're going to. And yeah, half of this pick is to piss Tyler off. So I'm going Alamo City,
the other half is to piss off the chair, I guess Fox said, or the chair says the chair must have picked Minnesota.
Yeah, Chair's a big Minnesota fan.
Yeah, he is. So,
Spite is a good motivator. Spite has driven half of my decisions in the SFL, to be honest. But yeah.
Well, Johnny, it brings us to you.
Good luck, Liam.
You've got the last word here on this game. Alamo City traveling to Minnesota. I didn't actually know Minnesota was 11-1 in their last 12 games either. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I got buddies on both these teams, and I love what they're both doing, and it's going to be a great game. Alamo City, like Mike said, they're a scrappy team by definition, and I do think that they can pull off the upset, and I do think it's going to be a close game. I really think that these are some great playoff matches altogether. But I personally am just going to go for who I'm rooting for in this game, and I don't know if that's even it's bad that I kind of have that juju out there, but I'm rooting for Minnesota. Because and I don't want to say I'm looking past Vegas, but I think we can all talk about Minnesota, and Tyler can talk about Minnesota having a great chance of winning this game. But then they're going to be going on the road to Baltimore in the next round if they win this game. And by Minnesota winning and going to Baltimore, that means that if London wins, we go over to Fort Worth, and I'm a lot more comfortable going into
Fort Worth than you are into Baltimore. All right.
So I'm rooting for Minnesota to handle their business. Just because I'd rather see Baltimore a little later on in the bracket.
All right, so we got 3-1 in Minnesota's favor. Mike O'Neill, the only one picking Alamo City. Tyler with his guaranteed pick of Minnesota, which leaves us one game left to pick, and that is Tulsa at Carolina. Liam, your guaranteed pick in this game is who?
Yeah, shit. I'm no surprises that this one got left, aside from the in the Vancouver game. This is probably. I'm so torn on this, honestly. I think Carolina will do it. Tulsa are another. I feel like Tulsa are quite like us in the sense in that they're very offensive. Like they explode on offense, but that is if you can't pair that up with the defense, it makes it quite difficult to actually get anywhere. And I think that I've seen the evolution of Carolina over the course of because I did their game at the convention. When I was still doing play-by-play, and seeing how they had the most turgid, terrible shit game against LA, and I think they may have barely scraped it out. Like one of the teams barely scraped it out. It may have been Carolina. How far they've come since then to be in the playoffs, and Carolina are not a team that has typically had a lot of playoff success anyways.
Yeah, Harish was talking about that in the Gen Chats too. Yeah. They've just been the bearers of bad luck.
Yeah, so to get to that stage, I think is a really impressive achievement. That being said, I think it's another game similar to Indy and Vancouver where it is really, really difficult to pick them. I'll go with guaranteed Carolina though, just because I've got no other choice. I think they can do it with having the home field. I think they can do that game as well.
All right, Mike O'Neill, Tulsa at Carolina. Who you got?
I got Carolina, baby. I got Carolina. And listen, the reason why is because I picked Charleston this past week. And I was watching that game, obviously, for San Diego purposes. Yep. I was watching that game intensively. And in that game, I saw a playoff contending Carolina defense. And I think that they're going to show up against Tulsa because, like I was saying before, some teams, unfortunately, are, and I don't want to call Tulsa one-dimensional, but I'm saying if you shut down Douglas Brown, it's a lot easier to beat Tulsa. And I think that that's what's going to happen. I think Carolina's going to come out, and I think that they're going to take this Tulsa team. I think it's going to be close. I have it by 7 or less, but I am taking Carolina home.
All right. And as Tyler's finally touching his cat tonight, Johnny, who do you got in this Tulsa-Carolina game?
Man, I love the matchup. They're both very similar teams. You look at their turnover differentials. You got like a +9 in Carolina, I think a +8 in Tulsa. They're not similar, but like metrically, they're a great matchup. You have, but Carolina is just a top defense in the league, and I gotta respect good defenses. I mean, I think they're second in the league in points allowed, and that's impressive. I think, for me personally, that defense has gone under the radar this season. If that's if I'm correct in that they're second in the league in points allowed. Where Tulsa has more middle-of-the-road defense and middle-of-the-road offense versus Carolina middle-of-the-road offense. But like you said, Tulsa's very one-dimensional. I love Doug Brown. I'm the guy who got him in this league. He's a buddy of mine. But man, I'm gonna go with my gut here, and I was always. Ever since I saw this matchup on paper, I just think it's going to be a fun one to watch. I think that everybody's going to be tuning in for this game because it'll be the last one of the first round. I think you're going to have, 120, 150 viewers on this one Sunday night. And I think what a great experience for both those organizations to be playing with that much of tension and with everybody under the lights, per se. It's a big moment for both organizations. I'm going with Tulsa on the road, though. I'm going with Tulsa on the road. I think that they're going to make a few less mistakes in this one. And they're going to find a way to get it done. But, I mean, Carolina has all the tools to beat Tulsa. But I see Tulsa getting over the hump here.
Yeah, David Leathers confirming in the chat, Carolina is second in points allowed. So,
and I feel like Carolina, they popped their champagne, for making the playoffs. And it kind of seemed like they're already having their after party, and that their goal for the season was done a little bit. Where Tulsa's been here before the last few seasons, they've been a little bit more consistent, and I think they have their goals set higher. I think they're going to get past the first round.
Interesting. All right, Tyler, you got the last word of the night on all of these wild card games. The very last game also of the wild card weekend, Tulsa, Carolina. Who you got?
I actually want to jump off Johnny's point there. Hunger's a big point, right? Carolina hasn't been back since season 11, and Tulsa was snubbed at 7-5, the first team to go above 500 and missed the playoffs. So they have a chip on their shoulder just as much as Carolina does. this game has a lot of unknowns. It's the 8-9 matchup. It will be a very tight affair between these two clubs. Tulsa licking the wounds after the loss to Indy. Carolina, controlling matters versus Charleston. But this is the first time Carolina have had a home playoff game since their iteration way back with the Kahlua Wyverns back in season 1. They have been in the playoffs.
The what?
Kahlua Wyverns.
What the fuck is that?
Yes. That is,
I don't even know what that is.
Because we actually discovered, Cam and
know what you said.
the broadcast team discovered that the Carolina franchise reaches all the way back to the season 1 of the original 8. The
Really?
Kahlua Wyverns.
Okay.
Which
That's
they
correct.
made the
Yeah.
playoffs. They made the playoffs
Dumb.
in season
Kahlua
2.
like the drink.
Yes.
No, it's so I think it was a Hawaii-based
Yes.
team.
Okay.
Because they
I
eventually
still-
turned into
I
the
still-
Honolulu
A
Legends.
wyvern is a type of dragon. It's like a heraldic sort of dragon.
I'm
type.
just gonna go out on a limb here and say if you have to fucking explain it to everybody, not great fucking branding. But go ahead.
Well, okay, so they stayed in Hawaii for a little bit before coming into Carolina as we know them today.
Okay.
But they've been in the playoffs 4 times, this entire franchise. This is the first time at home. What's shocking is Tulsa, is on a 5-game win streak against Carolina, and Carolina has never beaten Tulsa at home. Carolina has always lost at home. This goes back to season 10, the first ever matchup between the two clubs. 27-20, also over Carolina and David A. Richardson. Might not have been called David A. Richardson Memorial Stadium back then in season 10, but I digress. Tulsa's winning this game.
Wow.
I love Carolina.
Wow.
I love Carolina. Skippy, Harish and Shravan Prasad, Chirillo, really great people. They deserve to be in the playoffs, but so does Tulsa. I think Tulsa, who has been more consistent now in the last few seasons, comes away with the victory and continues their control over Carolina while Carolina plays at home.
All right. So
I've got Dave. Just
Go ahead.
very
Yeah, go-
quick
no, go
one.
ahead,
I've
go
got
ahead.
a very, very deep SFL take because we're talking about Carolina. Their first playoff berth was in the first season, so it was in season 8 when I just come into the league. They were 5-7, and they won 4 straight to finish the season 5-7 and get into the playoffs. Now, there's 2 things here. One, what was the team that missed out on 5-7 losing on the final week? Well, the 2 teams actually. Okay. And what was the team that beat one of those teams to actually allow Carolina to get in? They were all on the same record, and they were tiebreaker.
if it goes back to the Tulsa franchise, this is going to be a little crazy.
What season was it?
It's not Tulsa.
I mean, not
Season
Tulsa
eight.
itself, but whatever
Yeah,
Tulsa's
but
franchise goes back
it's
to.
interesting. It's interesting because 2 of these. So I've to narrow it down a bit. The 2 teams have got first round buys.
Oh shit! So it's Baltimore's going to be one of them.
Yeah, Baltimore is one of them. So
Oh, and
it
then
was
and then
Crabs.
whoever Force
Yep, the Crabs.
Baltimore Crabs.
and then whoever Fort Worth's team was back then.
No,
No.
Fort Worth
No.
is
Oh,
a
Fort Worth's
iteration,
expansion,
so it's
huh.
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Yeah.
Atlanta,
So
really?
Atlanta, and who did Atlanta lose to for Carolina to get in?
Tulsa. Would have been
London.
I
OKC
don't
at that point.
No, St. Louis.
Oh shit! That's how you know that. Jeez. That's how he knows that.
That's deep. And yeah, like that was the last game of the season. It was a really big thing because Carolina were nowhere, and back in those days, like if they were 1-7, they were dead, and they won out and got into the
Dude,
playoffs off the back of Atlanta losing to St. Louis.
Dude,
in
the
final
fact that you
week
can
of
get in the
season.
playoffs at 5-7 compared to what it takes now.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally almost have to be 8-4 now. Well, you had to be 8-4 to be guaranteed in for sure. Yeah. What a difference. All right, folks. Let me recap this real quick, and then we'll start shutting this party down a little bit. The panel's got Vancouver 3-1, Mike O'Neill guaranteeing an Indy win. In the London game, 4-0, the only sweep of the 4 games. Johnny with the guarantee win there. Minnesota 3-1, so you had a 4-0, 2 3-1s. Guaranteed win, Tyler, same Minnesota. And then the last game is the only game. You know, you guys all said that all the games were kind of close, but your votes say that the closest game is this Tulsa, Carolina at 2-2 with Liam guaranteeing a Carolina win. And there are your pick'ems for wild card weekend as we bring in my main man Freddie, if he's still awake, at 11:23. I told you guys, hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes exactly. Let's see if Freddie's still with us. Freddie, you still awake?
Yeah, I'm here, bud. I'm here. I'm hanging with you.
Awesome.
Great show, great panelists as always. Let's turn this out. Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end. Let's call it a night. The party's over. Until next week when we'll do some playoff partying again. Good night, everybody.
Boom, playoff parties in the house. Freddie, thank you very much. I want to throw some special shout-outs to my man Freddie there, my man Gunny, Bullet Boletsky, Zach Holdorf for always doing stuff behind the scenes for me. What the hell was – is that Bullet?
It's Mike O'Neill.
No, that was Bullet.
It's Mike O'Neill's chair.
That was Bullet.
Oh, is that,
That was
or is
Bullet.
that Mike O'Neill's chair? Hey, special thanks to Mike O'Neill's chair for winning Diva of the Week.
Being an asshole again.
Mike O'Neill for being on the panel tonight. Johnny Pickler, Tyler Falk, and Liam Crowder. Thank you guys all for being here. Liam, thanks for doing double duty. Appreciate all of you guys. I'll see some of you next week. I'll see all the party people next week. Well, hopefully. Here's the deal. Lisa leaves town 4 o'clock tomorrow morning. I leave town 4 o'clock the following morning. We're supposed to come back together on Tuesday. We're going to be home in the afternoon, late afternoon or evening. But if our flight is late, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to prepare for a show, but I'll throw my flight updates in the Access Live server so you'll know if we are going to make it home in time for the show or not. If we do, we've already got a panel set up. We've got everything ready to go. So hopefully we make it back.
You'll just have to do a Wednesday show.
Oh shit! Look at this. Look at Johnny. Are you coming on Wednesday?
No.
Oh yeah. So I'll have to do a Wednesday show. Nice. Oh yeah. There you go. Winkler said my chair can run the show. Hey, there you go. And you have Mike O'Neill's chair as a panelist, and Tyler's white spotted.
What about Chad Rowland's bottle of liquor?
Well, that's always the part. So what somebody said last
An
week.
empty bottle.
Yeah, somebody said last week it should be your chair, Tyler's cap, and something else. And I don't remember what the something else was. Does anybody remember
It
that?
needs to be Chad's bottle of liquor.
I wish I could remember what it was. We'll figure it out for next. Oh, there it is. Dave's chair, Mike's chair, Tyler's hat, Chad's bottle of liquor, and a corn cob. Of course, that came from Zach Holdorf. What do you know?
Tyler's
and
hat,
Mike
Tyler's hat.
and Mike All's bag of chips. Of course.
I think corn cob is a euphemism, isn't it?
It's corn cob is something they use in places where
I'll tell you what, it was quite funny. It was quite funny earlier because when Mike was doing his protest, and
Yeah.
then we just started hearing the dragging of the chair. I genuinely
Dude.
thought like it was either the chair or like Mike was like dragging the corpse out like of APF or something like that. It could have been something to that effect.
it literally sounded like his chair was coming to get him. He's like, "Fuck that, I'm coming." What is Winkler? Replace Dave's chair with Dave's hair. Get out of here, bro. That's been MIA for a while. All right, I got to get out of here before this gets even worse and Bullet comes back with 20 bullet points next week. All right, everybody, thanks for being here. We'll see you next Tuesday, hopefully. Tune in 9 p.m. Eastern, Tuesdays on Twitch, where we see you at the tees. And, of course, like my good friend Mike St. Green always says, see you next Tuesday.